Hello and welcome to IndiePod, an indie games podcast, your weekly source for all the indie games news you need to know. This week, we're bringing you 4 awesome indie game news stories before, of course, we hop in to News Cram, where we've got
News Clam?
Sweet, I don't know, fucking News
News
Clap
Clam?
these cheeks. Like, I don't fucking know what I just
is
said,
that the new
dude.
name?
Yeah,
Give me that news clap. Just clap me
it's
up.
Fries Day up in here, okay, peeps?
I wish.
Of course, we're going to hop into some quick news stories, some new deals and quick steals and new stuff, and, of course, God bless the crowd, answer your listeners' questions, and more than likely, mess up even more, because I am sleep deprived today, okay? If you didn't notice, I said listeners' questions.
They're
which is,
listeners,
in a
and
sense,
they have questions, damn it. It makes sense. It's okay.
In a certain light, it makes sense, but in reality, I'm a little dumb, and I need to sleep more often. So, big
Why are you so
Josh
sleep
Bull.
deprived?
Okay, so, well,
Let's get into it.
Let me do something. But before we get into any of that, let me introduce myself, Vaughn Hyde, alongside the illustrious, this is the most amazing, the most kissable, biggest of average Josh Boys. How you doing today, Big Josh Boy?
I'm doing good, man. You are tongue-tied today.
I know.
It's okay.
I'm pretty sure
We'll
I
get-
just said, how are you doing today? I don't
Today?
know why. I didn't mean to say that, but I'm pretty sure I just did.
I like to think I'm pretty nice to the gays. I'm doing well. I'd like to hear more about you, though. Why so sleep deprived?
No, I mean, it's not even necessarily a good reason. So yesterday, as of the time of recording this, we record on Sundays. Last night, I was playing some Dark Souls 2 on stream. Got done at like midnight. Then I had to work on some homework, which I still have to do like today. But and it's due today, which I'm so good at school.
Nice.
So I had to do some homework, so I stayed up so I could do that, and then I also had to wake up early so that we could go look at houses. So just all of that combined made me get like less than 5 hours of sleep, and
Nice.
I haven't eaten anything today,
You'll
and
be
the only
fine.
things I've consumed are a Monster, 0 energy or 0 sugar. No, I sure hope it's not 0 energy. That would suck. And
What would the point be?
the good old H2O, the agua, you know? The
well.
thing that takes up 75% of your body or whatever it is, you know?
I hope
It's-
listeners are ready. They better buckle up for this episode, because
Dude, they fucking better.
It's gonna be a bumpy
Because-
ride.
I got something I need to share, okay?
Uh-oh. Starting off
I-
with some hot stuff here.
Some real hot stuff. You have no idea actually how true that statement is. So, I realized today, of all days, it's actually been like a frequent thing.
Okay.
But I realized today and finally came to the overall realization. I finally came to it. I was like, you know what? I think I have IBS. I'm pretty sure I've got irritable bowel syndrome. Like,
That
it's got to be a
sucks.
thing. Yeah, and like Morgan and I were talking about it, and I think it's like, because from what I understand, IBS is like, it can be like stress induced, and it's kind of interesting how prevalent it is in today's society with men. I mean, maybe we're just too inbred, you know? Maybe the United States, too many, you know? Too many holes the same, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know what that fucking means, actually.
I don't know. I'm trying to hype you up. I'm trying to agree.
We're crossing the
You're supposed to
streams,
roll
dude,
with
and
it.
it's happening too often. We're just too inbred over here in the US of A. So I like every time we go to look at houses, I get so in my head about not wanting to burden Morgan or our realtor with me having to go to the bathroom that I essentially like I go a mind over matter and make it to where I have to poop. Like every time. Every time we go to look at houses.
In the house that you're looking at? Do you go
No,
in and you're
I
like,
don't
excuse
wanna
me,
do
I'd like
that.
to test out the seats here and give it a whirl.
See, we look at a lot of vacant houses, and I would legitimately love to do that. But one, like if they do have toilet, like a lot of them don't have toilet paper. But two, also I would just feel so uncomfortable doing that. Like,
First off,
and
that's rude. They should have toilet paper. I mean,
yeah, I mean the
need to know what
market
it
in
looks like.
Idaho, there's like so many people looking at houses that I can guarantee you, if I pooped in a house, 5 minutes later somebody would have to like smell my stink, which means that I might be able to get that fucking house.
That's
they might
true.
think it smells like
They'd be
doo-doo
like, their
in
pipes.
the house.
Their pipes
Yeah,
are
dude.
nasty. They're like
I
they're
just-
stanky.
I
ain't-
walk out and I'm just like, dude, that smell is in the carpet, bro. Like, I don't know what's up with that. It was here before we got here. So weird. Yeah. and my wife was just like, maybe I should start carrying like air freshener around when we go and look at houses. So you could do that. And I was like, yeah, and toilet paper. And she was she was like, I actually already have toilet paper like in my car, which is for like nosebleeds and blowing your nose, but she's also
Why
the
don't
person
you
who like
just
poops her pants often. So
Why don't you just get tissues? Yeah, that's clearly for a double purpose.
yeah, it's definitely
I
for
don't know,
something else,
man.
but it's like I'm so afraid of this occurrence that I actually cause it. Like I get so worked up that I'm like, oh God, I'm gonna have to poop. Like I'm gonna have to go doo doo, and I can't do it in one of these houses. So I got a plan. Where are we gonna stop? I'm gonna have to ask if we can stop at a fucking gas station. Like that's gonna be so uncomfortable. And so I've had to do that twice now. I did it today too, and it was super funny because our realtor, like I was like, we were talking about going to houses, and I was like, you know, after we look at this house, because this person was taking for fucking ever to get out of the house. We showed up before they did, and then they're like, "Oh, don't worry, we'll be real quick." We're like, their agent was in the house, and they
Yeah.
were like, "Oh, our like, whatever, fucking crony, the person buying the house possibly, was like around the corner," and he's like, We'll be in real quick. And I'm like, okay, dude, it takes us like 5-10 minutes to look at a house. Like we're not fucking insane people. We're just like, okay, could we see ourselves living here? Cool. Is it fucked up? No. Awesome. Let's fucking do this. But this person gets there like 5 minutes later. They were just around the corner. It took forever for them to get here. And once they got in the house, they were in there for like a solid 20-25 minutes. And I'm
You gotta
just like,
check everything, man. You gotta check.
dude.
You gotta flush them toilets. You gotta run the sink.
maybe I should be taking shits. I gotta check
You
everything.
should.
I should
You
be
gotta
making sure
check.
that it can fucking
How does it
suck
flush?
down one of my turds.
If it gets stuck, fucking leave.
That'd be so funny. So it comes over, there's a fat turd because the water isn't even on, and they're just like, why?
Just like I had to test it.
We
The
not
water
only
doesn't
have
work in
to-
this house.
Yeah, we not only have to like fucking bring air freshener and toilet paper, but also like a fat bottle of water, so we could
Yeah.
just like fill up the tank.
Just to dump
But-
it. Yeah. Well, you could also bring. I mean, you could bring like doggy bags, and you could just. You'd be like,
Just
oh, I
poop
don't
in
know.
my
This,
hand, dude.
this dog just pooped in your house. I don't know what happened.
But so like I was sitting outside this house and I got so worked up about it, and I'm like, what am I gonna do? Like I can't poop in this house. Like I'm gonna have to tell our realtor what's going on. So I was like, you know what? She was talking about going to other houses, and I was like, I just straight up was like, okay, so like before we go to another house, I gotta go to the bathroom. Like I know we're already late for the next one because of these dickheads, but like we're gonna be even more late because I gotta doo-doo. Like I gotta go to the bathroom.
Jeez.
And she was like, I didn't say I gotta doo-doo because I'm much more awkward.
I'm
in
sure.
reality. Yeah, so I was like, yeah, I just have to stop and go to the bathroom, like at that Maverick, that gas station up there. And she's like, I mean, is it like number one or more? And I was like,
Or more. Like I don't know, lady. Can you do addition? Like
yeah, I was just like, I mean, I just straight up, I was just like, okay, so here's the deal. I get so in my head about this that that I'm gonna have to poop that I basically force myself into having to do so. I will this into existence. So I gotta go poo poo. And she's all like, okay, like we could stop after this. And I was like, I was crossing my fingers that she was going to say it was socially acceptable to poop in these people's houses, but like she didn't. So I'm still not going to say it is.
no, it's definitely not. As much as I joke about it, it would be so strange to be like, all right, hold up. We really got to test this out.
In all honesty, there was one time where I had to go to the bathroom and like, I really had to go to the bathroom and I like got the farts. So I got them bubble guts. So I went outside and luckily, so like they
Took a
had
dump in their
compost
yard?
bins at this house that were going to come with the house. I was like, yeah, like I want my house smelling shit all the time. Like it already does when I'm there, but I don't want it all the other time, you know, like 100%, 120%. But like I go in the backyard and I just let out a fat fart. I was just like, I gotta, like, it's just building up. I gotta fucking fart. I farted, and then, like, the second I farted, like, our realtor and my wife walked outside, and I was like, man, these compost bins, like, they're fucking,
They're
it smells
nasty.
like shit out here. Just immediately, and I was like, okay, like, it in my head, I was like, it contributed, but I definitely just lied about that. That was me, 100%. So, yeah.
A+ material right there. So speaking of poops and farts, we should probably talk about housekeeping.
Exactly. That's exactly what we should talk about. So, we got a new indie developer interview going up this Wednesday for Whoopo and the sequel to Whoopo, but I don't know how to say this fucking name. Okay, like come on, Kunist and Perzik. I don't know how to say that.
It's okay. I'm gonna leave it at that.
That's too far. That's like, what are you doing? Come on. Just name it like, I don't know, fucking Grundle Studios. Like, it's fine. Like, it's whatever. So, please check out that developer interview, of course. That is 1 day after this goes live for patrons, 2 days before for plebes. Please check it out. Developers of Whoopo, one of Josh's seemingly favorite games. He often talks about it. He's a big fan of the Whoopo, and he's a little bit upset that I have owned it for several years and have yet to play it.
Big dum-dum.
Check out the developer interview, and of course, please check out all the other ones that go live on Wednesdays. Check out the IndiePod store over on teespring.com/store/indie/ Just check out the IndiePod store over on Teespring. Please, we got t-shirts, we got stickers, and soon when I figure out how to unfuck up our PayPal, we will have other stuff because I fucked it up. Oh my god. Please check out our YouTube channel. It's just IndiePod over on YouTube. It may change soon depending on like a website I'm building, but currently it is just IndiePod over on YouTube, so you can check out these episodes on video, or you could check out some of the other stuff we have posted over there. So please do so. Leave us reviews on any sort of platform that you can, listening or otherwise. Specifically, iTunes helps out a lot, I've been told. I'm not going to say that I understand it, but supposedly it helps. I'm gonna assume it has something to do with SEO, but I have no idea. And lastly, thank you so much to all of our patrons. We'll see Mixomatosis, aka Mix, Zach Durham, Chase Hopkins, Philip Crenshaw, the Wombat Emperor of Australia, Chris Penwell, always drinking tea, bruh, always, Josh Nichols, Active Josh, and Sam Fillion from Canada. Thank you all so much for being patrons. You're all so amazing, and I love you all. I'm going to kiss you guys on the mouth. So, it is time for us to talk about some of the indie games that we have been playing. Big Josh Boy, you have been playing the Everhood demo by Chris Nordgren and Jordi Roca. So, please tell me about the Everhood demo and why it has become your favorite game, even though it doesn't feature cards.
Even though it doesn't feature cards. No. Well, first off, let's start with a good fuck you. Second off, I
just gotta get that out there.
Yeah, let's put that on the table just so people remember that I hate you. Second is, you mentioned Everhood last week, and I had never heard of this before. I took a quick look at it. It's got really trippy artwork. It's got a very narrative-based story approach to this game. It's got weird-ass characters, and it's got rhythm-based type combat. It's not a rhythm game.
It's like pseudo-rhythm based. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, but it kind of is. And I looked at it, and damn, it looks like a Josh-ass game. And so I had to try it.
It doesn't hurt that the main character totally looks like that Geno guy or whatever from Super Mario RPG.
Yes. That is 100% true, and very much a part of it. But the way it starts, I really like it because you can clearly tell there's inspiration from things like Undertale. And the reason why is it has that same type of remembering your choices, even though it doesn't really do anything. It's an interesting like twist to it of the game remembering kind of what you've chosen and having different like narrative paths based on actions. And I don't know that they're doing this a lot, but they did it one specific time that I saw it, and it got me excited because I said, oh, this is only a demo. This is only probably a flavor of it. there's possibly going to be a lot more of this, which is cool because in Undertale there were a lot of interesting pieces that did that I was like, oh shit, it remembers, like, and it's creepy in a lot of ways. But so this one, the clear one was just at the start, it's kind of weird. It asks you to give up your what is it? It's like give up your humanity for would you sacrifice your humanity to gain immortality or something like that.
Damn,
and,
this is a real Undertale ass game.
Yeah,
Jesus.
and so it asks like yes or no. It's like, are you ready? And I was like, no. And so it's like, okay, we understand. And then it just brought me back to the start screen. And I was like, oh, that was funny. And so I went back into it. I was like, all right, let me actually play the game. And then it opens up and it's like, are you ready yet? Like, are you ready now? And I was like,
that's awesome.
Oh. I was like, yes, it remembers. And I was like, okay, yes, let's do it. And so
it's kind of like making fun of you.
Yeah, exactly. But no, it was one of those things where it wasn't making fun of you, but it was just like, we understand. Like, giving up your humanity takes time. Like, it was very understanding about the situation. And I just thought it was very clever and weird because I was just like, oh, okay, sure. And so you go into it and you're this doll who is just scattered in pieces. And a thief, that blue thief that you see as that main character that kind of looks like Gino, he steals your arm. And then all of a sudden you magically come back to life, but you're just missing your arm. And then you try to get your arm back. And so that's like the majority of what you're going to play in this is you trying to find that thief. And so it has you go into basically like him following him to a nightclub and going and talking to a bunch of people. And on the way there's a bunch of these combat scenes where you start off. And the way it works is literally like if you think of Guitar Hero and you think of how those buttons or those different, notes show up and come down that line in Guitar Hero, you would be expected to press that note at that given time. Instead, this game is a little different. Those notes are playing, but you don't want to hit them. You have to jump over them or dash to the side. So the idea, the mechanic with the game is you're listening to really cool beats and this awesome track, this music that's, like really bumping, and you're just trying to dodge and dash and get through things. And then they start to get tougher where they'll start to put blocks on top of those notes so you can't jump over them. So there's certain ones that you have to dash to the side of versus jump over. You have like 3 times of getting hit, but it'll regenerate over time. So you just have to kind of like make sure you can get past those harder parts without getting hit too much, and then wait for your health to get back to full. But then they even, as you keep going through this, they become a little bit more not just you on that board. They start playing out different mechanics where you're like on this giant grid and there's these fires that are coming up and you have to like run around and avoid them. If you look at the trailer, there's a number of different pieces that are there that they're going to also include, like things where there will be on that track, you have to actually hit a button and smack the boss or whatever you're fighting back based on certain notes. Yeah, which I thought is a really good inclusion that I didn't get to play in the game, but I was like, one of my concerns or my complaints to this is you're playing this theme or this song and trying to like dance kind of and like defeating people, and it just kind of ends at a certain point when the song ends, and then it's like, oh, you've defeated me, and just like thematically it just seems stupid. You're like, I didn't do anything, I just kind of danced around and then you died, which fine, that's fine, that's the way the game is played. But from a theme perspective, I thought it was cooler seeing that, and I have seen a bunch of other mechanics that they've put in there that from the trailer, that speaking wise, that I haven't seen in the demo that I'm very excited about, but I won't talk to those because I don't know, if they're 100% going to be included or how much they'll play into the game. But what I did play was that map of the notes coming down, you avoiding them, and I got to the point where right as I was starting to get like, it's like, okay, I've seen it. This game has, this. It's kind of interesting. I'll pick it up. Right at that point, it then got super fucking weird, very trippy. And then the song and like the final kind of boss to the demo, so to speak, is like this almost incoherable, like it just made no sense, man. It was so weird. And the game then turns into making you not only play, but has all these different styles, all these different things where like the visuals of it will get harder, where it'll blur the screen. Like when a note comes, it like paints the area so that like all your vision is screwed up. They'll do things where the track is completely gone, but the notes are just coming. They'll do things where the whole map is spinning as you're playing. Like, so there were so many unique variations in that final boss fight or whatever you would call it that I was just like, damn, I gotta try it. Like, I gotta stick with this. So I'm actually really excited because it's supposed to launch March 4th, and I am 100% going to get this. I'm definitely going to be really busy because transparency. Well, no, transparency speaking, I'm picking up contracting work on the side of like my full-time job. So I'm probably not going to have as much time for games, but like the time that I do have from, March 4th to Isaac, I want to try and put into Everhood and beat. But it's good.
Did you get to try out any of these other like pseudo mini game-esque sections of the game that I've seen in the trailer? Because they have like one section where it looks like a bullet hell section, another where it's like racing.
Yeah, no. See, that's the thing that I didn't want to comment on because I haven't tried those elements yet.
Okay.
Most of it has been that track, the Guitar Hero-esque track, and a lot of notes flying at you and different variations to make that interesting. But I haven't seen the other mini game-esque type pieces to it, so that's why I didn't want to like go too deep into that because I don't know if that's going to be a big part of it, like how much is going to be of what, like it. And
yeah, you don't know to what degree that will be implemented in the game,
right? And that Guitar Hero looking track might be one flavor that is just then not even apparent halfway into the game. Like, I don't know yet. All I know is the narrative of it is super strange. The fucking just the entire world that you have is very dark and gritty, but extremely bright and vibrant at the same time. And then just the characters in it are very, very strange. To a point where like I want to know more. Like the demo is a great flavor of showing you, here's a bunch of cool ideas. Like if you're into it, go for it, so to speak. And it hooked me. So I say, if any of this sounds interesting to you, I would try out the demo because it was pretty good. Apparently there's 2 different difficulty modes. So there was like the normal mode and then there's like the easy mode for people who might not be as good at just games in general. Yeah, there's the Josh mode and the Vaughn mode. So I picked the Josh mode. And I thought it was a good challenge. There wasn't a point where I like had failed necessarily, but there were times where I was at 1 HP and I was like, uh-oh, gotta focus. Like I could fuck up here.
Okay, I mean, this looks really cool. I'm very interested to see if it attracts this like cult-like fandom similar to Undertale. I think that would be really awesome. Like, we don't see it often, but right. I would love for it to happen, especially because Everhood looks so reminiscent of Undertale. It looks like it's very much an homage to that game.
There was literally, I tweeted this out, there's literally a part where you're talking to an ATM machine, basically.
I was about to bring that up.
Yeah, and it has the same face of the flower. And I was like,
It has Flowey's evil face. I was just like, I fucking see you.
Yeah, I was like, uh-oh. That's
awesome.
Clear.
Honestly, the game looks really, really cool. I'm excited to see what people think of it. Being the guy who couldn't actually beat Undertale, I'm not gonna hop into Everhood.
But this could be the Undertale for you because there's an easy mode.
That's actually a solid point. I didn't even think about that.
Right?
Yeah, there is an easy mode. Okay,
Look,
okay.
I'll try it out and I'll let you know if you need to play this game.
Okay. Speaking of letting me know if I need to play some games, you are also playing Space Court by Uphill Promise. Tell me about it. Should I play? What's up?
Yeah. So this was a recommendation from Rob from the Classic Gaming Podcast. I went on there, and at the end of the episode while we were recording, they mentioned just random games to shout out. And so obviously I shouted out a couple indie games, and then he mentioned, oh, have you ever tried Space Court? I never heard about this before. It's a very small, very quick game, and there's not it's not a mechanical game. It's a game where you're a judge of Space Court. So this
checks
weird
out.
Intergalactic
Judge
world.
Judy.
Yeah, basically. But, well, I guess you could be the Judge Judy of that world if you wanted to. So essentially how it works is you're that judge, and a number of different creatures from universes will show up and will talk to you about their problems and what you need to do to help them, whatever that might be. And so you have a decision based on those conversations to either help them, or just respond in a number of, like, usually it's up to 3 different ways that you can respond to them, and based on that they'll either like it or hate it or be neutral to the response, and you kind of have this like friend meter with people based on those actions of, are you helping them or are you not? And it all goes down to a full week of you being in charge of Space Court, because at the start you have this very like lax, not really it just shouldn't have their job there type person.
I mean, yeah, the literal blurb for this game is a newly appointed judge. You will run over Space Court rule over Space Courts and its denizens to keep the universe safe or possibly blow it up. Either way, you're tenured.
Yes. So the person there who, when you're appointed, who helps you out and is supposed to be your advisor, just kind of comes in and is like, hey, if you make it past a week, you're doing better than the last guy. Like, whatever, man. Like, you'll be fine. He's like, I'm supposed to advise you. I'll be there every step of the way. And then he like leaves, and he doesn't show up for like another 2 days. And he's just, there's like a part where you're like, weren't you supposed to be advising me? And he's like, oh yeah, kind of like,
you figured it out.
You figured it out.
You survived.
Yeah. So, and that's basically what this game is. It's a very just a comedic kind of just choose your own path style of game. It's a narrative game in that way, where you're just dealing with these creatures, and the honestly the great part about it is each of the characters are so very just ridiculous in their personalities. Like, I really love it. You have this one giant monster who is so big he cannot fit in through the door of your office. So you literally only see his giant eyeball and sometimes like a finger that he'll poke through. And he's the race that his race is just this very unintelligent, like, he only talks in like, me pork, hello, like basically speaking to you. You introduce yourself and you're like, hi, I'm the new appointed judge. Like, nice to meet your acquaintances. It's like, me no understand big words kind of a thing. So you just
fucking Kevin from The Office. Why use big word when small word do trick?
Dude, I reference that so much. I love that
so
quote.
Good, dude.
But so you're basically talking with these creatures who are just like really ridiculous. You have another one who is constantly giving you these demands and is like what was the one where he was just like, the TV remote is too far from me, so I can't change the channel. And you're like, what? You're like, why don't you just get up and turn the knob? He's like, well, you can't expect me to do that. He's like, how are you going to fix my list of demands? And he just keeps asking all these things that have no reason inside a courtroom. And then you have another one who's literally trying to like ransack and destroy and take over the world, like, and trying to deal with all of them. And at the end, you basically see if you can deal with everyone's problem or if you're blowing up the world. So it's a really, really interesting game. I played it twice because you can try different things and see if you can help people. I'd recommend it. I'm not going to go too much more into that, but like, honestly, it was only $2 or $3. I think it was $3 on Steam.
$2.99.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's worth it. It was like an hour of a run through, like 30 minutes to an hour. And I enjoyed it. Like, there's a lot of good dialogue in it. I like the way that you have the friend meter, because you're trying to like deal with their problems, and based at the end of what your resolution is for certain things, you have to have that level, that friend meter, at a certain like percentage. So I think it was really well done. I think it's a short, simple, very funny game that people should check out.
I do want to ask, like, when you choose to, like, quote unquote help people, do you actually do anything, or do you just go like, okay, your remote will now always be slightly closer to you, kind of a thing? Like, yeah,
so no, you're not doing anything. This is a narrative game in the fact that you're literally just choosing dialogue. Like, this is a very chill game. Like, this is a just, sit back, kind of just experience it and choose what you want to happen next. So it is very much in some vein, you can semi role play, because there's not a crazy amount of options, but like, you could be the really helpful, like the way I role played when I first played this game is I tried to be the judge who was like very by the book, and like all of my answers were very like, this is the way a judge should be, this is like textbook Judge Judy, whatever you want to call it, like no
Judge Judy.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's how I dealt with it. But then you could also just be an asshole and just be like, I don't like you, so fuck you. Like,
so you can really be a judge. Okay.
Yeah, that's
Fuck
true.
you.
You'd be like, no, you don't get to keep that planet. Get out of here.
That's awesome. Okay, I mean the game looks very interesting. I mean it's I don't think it will ever be for me, but I think that's really cool. Well, I guess it's $2.99, so I
mean,
can always check it out and see if I enjoy the like weird aspects of it. That's just like eat shit. Like I love the idea of the having to solve the problem of the remote being too far away from you. It's like, how do you solve that? And you're like, you know what? I'm going to pull from my collective consciousness here and say, have a child. Because did you ever have that happen where like the remote was like an inch away from your dad and he was just like, hey, get that for me. And you're like, what?
Yep.
Are you serious? Like it's I saw this thing on iFunny the other day, was just like keeping the tradition going, and it was like some guy who called his kid in to grab him the remote that was literally like this far away from his hand, and he's like, are you fucking kidding me?
Gotta do
So
it.
I'd love to see how you actually solve these.
Yeah,
these,
I wouldn't. They're not as crazy. Like a lot of them, like for those like remote control ones, a lot of the answers are like, go figure it out yourself, because it very much plays into, at that part, I think it was when they brought up that excuse, you had already heard a number of their demands, and at that part your character had only a few options of basically being like very rude or like only slightly rude, of like, please leave me alone, these are not actual court things.
I do love that this is like fucking small claims court. It's like you can either be Judge Judy or Judge Joe Brown, I think his name is. You're just like, let's see what fucking happens, bro. How big of a dick you gonna be today? Like, let's fucking see. That's awesome. I mean, the game sounds really fun. Yeah. Once again, it is over on Steam. It is only $2.99, so if you'd like to check it out, head over there and do so. And also check out, while you're there, check out the Everhood demo. It looks really cool. Speaking of being on Steam, one of the games that I've been playing this week, we did receive a code. Well, actually, we received multiple codes from the developer, but it's not a Josh game, so he's like not into it. But
sorry.
I played it, got the code from the developer, so take this with a grain of salt. But it is called Dragon Creek. It's by Rekkeld. I think it's Rekkeld. So Rekkeld? Rekkeld?
Rekkeld.
I'm not exactly sure. So this game, basically, like the entire idea of it is that you own a ranch. You had just purchased a ranch that you use to tame and like raise dragons. You don't necessarily tame them, but you raise dragons, and it's like basically just a Tamagotchi. It's 100% a Tamagotchi. You've got to feed them, you got to clean up their poop, and you can train them. So it's like the cool Tamagotchis later on that you could fight people with. Like you could, it's basically like it's like the Digivice version of a Tamagotchi. It's very cool. The way you get these dragons is you initially go to a dragon shrine, and it's entirely random. So you enter a code and a dragon spawns. You can either use like a random code, or you can just put in a code yourself. So what I did, I was like, you know what? I want to see what kind of a dragon spawns when I use like my typical name, my typical username. So I did like Legion2185, and a dragon spawned, and it was like an old, like kind of an ancient Chinese style dragon, the ones with no wings but are really like curvy. You know what I mean? Like second season of American Dragon Jake Long is what I'm talking about here.
Gotcha.
It was pink. It was like bright pink, and I thought it was fucking awesome. It was dope. I recently discovered that I think my favorite color is probably pink. It's fucking dope. So I summoned this dragon, and they have like borderline stats. They're like, okay, they have like strength this much, dexterity this much, accuracy this much. It's kind of cool. And you essentially just treat them like a Tamagotchi. You take them home, you bathe them, you feed them, you clean up their poop, you clean them, and then you do different tasks necessarily. I mean, you train them to get their strength up. So it's different types of mini games. So to increase their speed, you have to basically, they run on a treadmill to charge a battery, and you have to click A and D really quickly to keep it in this certain range. So there's like a red bar with a green smaller like rectangle going across it, and you have to try to keep your cursor basically in that green bar by clicking A and D as fast as possible, and then slowing down and then speeding up. And depending on how well you do this, your like stat increases a larger or smaller amount. You get more money, and you get more respect from the community. And you do this with like a bunch of different Yeah, I mean, they respected me, bruh. They respected me. Yeah. I mean, there was only like one mini game that I'm not very good at, but I figured it out. And it took me a second to figure it out because it was like the directions, I will say, are not amazing for the mini games. They pop up literally every time you go to play, which is nice, but they aren't incredibly accurate. So it's just like click this and then click this, and I'm like, okay. So I tried to do it and it didn't work, and I was like, what do you mean? It turned out that I needed to essentially wait for my character to walk from the smelter to put an iron bar on, like a heated iron bar, onto an anvil. And then when this little piece came up, this little square came inside my, like, I guess target square. This was for, I believe, accuracy. You then hold the right mouse button while the dragon breathes fire on it, and then a second little set of squares will come up on the left hand side, and you have to click the left mouse button as those little squares get in your kind of like accuracy, your like reticle kind of a square. And the better you do in these, the more like your stat increases, and the more respect you get, the more gold you get, and then you just repeat it. And it has like a day-night cycle, so your dragon will get like it can be like unhappy, it needs to eat, it needs to bathe, and it also needs to sleep. Like, it's pretty, like I said, it's a Tamagotchi. But throughout it has like this day-night cycle, and it keeps track of days. On certain days, you can enter tournaments, essentially, which are turn-based battles that you fight against other dragon, like, riders, other dragon tamers. And these are probably my least favorite thing about the game so far. It's mostly like it's laid out in a grid of 9 rectangles. It goes 3 by 3. Okay. So it's like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Yep. And you start out in the center square, and your opponent starts out in the square directly above you. At least the one I did. This is what happened. And you essentially just choose from a list of moves that you can do that hit certain squares and do certain things. It's very JRPG, like it's very Pokemon-esque, where you're just like, okay, I'm going to choose this, it's going to hit him, and then I can move essentially throughout these squares. Certain abilities only attack certain squares, so you have to like kind of be a little bit more strategic. The only thing that I didn't like about it necessarily, and you have to like manage your stamina, which increases every round, and that's what is required to do these like different abilities, but not moving, I don't believe. But the only thing I didn't like about it is that it's your turn and then their turn. So I did an attack and then I moved. And I was like, okay, cool, I'm going to be in this area. And then on their turn, they might move whatever. And then they just move directly next to me again. And I couldn't get behind them to use a move I wanted to use. So I was like, okay, I mean, I guess I'll just keep scratching the shit out of you. Like, that sounds pretty good. I mean, this may be me just not understanding fully the battle mechanics of this. Maybe if I didn't attack, I could have moved twice, similar to like the dash action in Dungeons and Dragons, where like if you don't use your action, you can use it to dash, which then allows you to make movement twice your movement speed. Maybe it's something similar to that. I'm not exactly sure, but all in all, the game is in early access, but 2, I think it's actually in a pretty playable state. I'm enjoying it. I didn't play it like a gigantic amount. I probably played it for 2, 3, maybe 4 hours, but I actually really enjoyed it. I thought the mini games were really fun. They have kind of like this really soft and I would say like relaxing song that plays throughout it. The only thing that I can say I honestly didn't enjoy that much about it was the battle system. I wasn't super impressed by it, but maybe I just need to do it a little bit more. And the only time that you can do that is actually on certain days of the week. So there were times where I was like, okay, I want to like enter this tournament or whatever. I want to fight this dragon so that I can gain ranks, because you have to like essentially complete these battles in tournaments to gain ranks, to then gain like the ability to have multiple dragons instead of just one, and to like upgrade your ranch and stuff like that. I had to wait. Like, I realized this battle system existed on a Friday, so I had to basically just fuck around for 2 days in game by like doing miscellaneous like stat adjustments and stuff, like playing the mini games and like having my dragon sleep and stuff, and then I could go actually fight this. And then like another 2 days later, I could fight like their brother in the like game lore, I believe. But it's very odd. The battle system was my least favorite. And the thing that sucks most about it is, like, that's directly tied to your progress in the game.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask, is, like, how much of this is you fighting? Like, what, like, I guess, is there a narrative to this? Like, a main, like, progression that you're trying to do throughout? Or is it just, like, train your dragon and try to be the best?
Seemingly, it's just train your dragon and try to be the best. I mean, I've yet to, like, really run into the narrative. It is possible that it's really fleshed out and it exists, but I have yet to come across it. For the most part, it's like straight up Tamagotchi. It's just like, you got this dragon, do shit. Like, beef it up, fight other dragons. You can become a better dragon tamer, and that means you can have more dragons, kind of a thing. So I have yet to run into this main narrative, this crinkle where it's like, oh, there's an evil dragon, kind of a thing, because that's always the thing they do in fantasy where dragons exist. But yeah, I've yet to run into anything like that. It was basically just like, become a better dragon tamer, become a better dragon rancher. And I was like, okay, cool, how do I do that? And it's like, fight other dragons. And I was like, this, and they take forever. The battles take so long because like your dragon can have 110 health, but your attack only does like fucking 15 damage. So it takes like fucking 10 to 15 turns to kill this asshole. I'm like, oh my God. It seriously it takes like probably 10-15 minutes to get through a battle, and I was like, can you fucking die, bro? Like, it was just pissing me off because they were just using the same status effect, and I was just like, they would use a status effect against me. It's kind of like they used Leer against me, and then I used Buff Up or something like that in Pokemon, where they increased they basically increased the amount of, I think it was like, oh no, actually, I did it the opposite to them. They kept using the stacking ability where it increased their strength based on, like, every time you get a stack, it increases your strength, which means that strength-based abilities do more. And I just would, every time they'd use that, I would just use an ability that decreased their strength stats, so it would just even out. You fucking bitch. But it was interesting. It's fun. I'm actually going to check it out a little bit more because I want to play around with like the codes and what kind of dragons that I can summon. Checking out the like different, like the videos on Steam and the different screenshots. It seems like there's a large variety of dragons throughout like different kinds of lore and mythology that you can check out, that you can actually get, whether it's like a wyvern or like these ancient Chinese dragons or one that looked like a cat, which was super weird. So I want to play it more. I think it's fun. Cool. I enjoy it. Yeah.
All right. Very cool.
Last game that I've been playing before we move on to our news stories it's called Shattered: Tale of the Forgotten King. It is an indie Souls-like developed by Redlock Studio. And I talked about this, like, I talked about it briefly on the Thursday night stream when we were playing Cuphead, but the lore to this game, I mean, I imagine it's very similar to, like, a lot of people think Dark Souls lore doesn't make a lot of sense. I got no fucking idea what's happening in this game. Like, they talk about, they often reference their lore, but it's all like there's no voice acting in the game. It's just all written down, so I just kind of have to like try to decipher what the fuck any of this means. And it's so abstract that I'm just like, I think I understand what you mean by that, but like I don't really know. The main crux of the game is the standard Souls-like fare where it's like, okay, you've got a stamina bar, you have abilities that use ether, which is essentially like mana, and then you've got health, and you go to like, I believe they are like limbo wells, or like kind of like these limbo shrines, which essentially take the place of bonfires. Yep. And you just go through, try to get to bosses, kill bosses. It's the standard Souls-like fare. I am enjoying it so far. I think the conversation overlays easily are the greatest thing in this game. They're so beautiful. They look so cool. I really love them. The art outside of the overlays, it's like, it's pretty. It seems like unfinished, but on purpose. It seems very kind of like blocky, very... Like, I'm trying to think of it looks like Necropolis, essentially. If anybody has played that, like, roguelite Souls-like. It looks a lot like that, but in these conversation overlays, it's very deliberate. It almost makes me think of, I think as Neil Gaiman wrote the Sandman comic books. It looks a lot like that. It's a very like interesting art style, and I enjoy it a lot. And I run into a lot of these characters that look really, really cool, and I'm like, man, I wish I could look like you, but I'm pretty sure that I just look dumb all the time. Like, I'm like, you look like a cowboy with swords, and I want to look like you, but for some reason I can't change my clothes. Like, I can get new swords, I can upgrade my health, I can get new items, I can do all this, but I just can't fucking change my clothes, and it bothers me. But I did like, so I played through multiple areas in the game. I think last time I checked, I have played through 5 to 8 hours of the game. I think it said I played through 8 hours of the game. And I've gotten, like, I've leveled up multiple times. I've gotten different swords throughout it, because you, like, essentially it's not like Dark Souls where you have, like, a large variety of weapons that you just randomly come across. They are essentially like a form of power-up, and each one works in a slightly different way. I can't say that they are different enough to really incentivize you to actually seek out different weapons. They essentially just swing slower or faster. That's about it. And your overall like heavy attack, when you charge it up with one sword, pulls you close and it shoots you further and possibly can get you behind the enemy, versus otherwise, like, it just does like it does the same slash, but you don't get behind the enemy. And I just got a third sword that seemingly just does the same thing as the first sword, so it almost seems unnecessary. It might just do a little bit more damage. But outside of the standard Souls-like fare, there's a really annoying thing that happens in this game that really, really bothers me. Something that bothers me is that it feels very floaty. Your movements are very quick, and it feels like you're just gliding on the ground, and nothing feels like it has a real, like, physical consequence to you. I essentially, like, my stamina bar is fucking massive. So in Dark Souls, I can roll like 3 or 4 times and my stamina bar is gone. But in this, I can just like shoot everywhere. I'm like, I don't give a shit. I'm like, and just basically dodge constantly. And it doesn't fucking matter in this game, versus in like a standard Souls-like game, you can do it like fucking 3 times max. And if you attack, you're fucking dead, bro. You're
Sounds
fucking
like this is my
gone.
type of Souls game.
Yeah, I mean, it's so far fairly easy. Like, I've died several times, but it's just kind of like getting used to this different combat style where it feels, I would say the game itself feels much more paint by numbers and less deliberate, where it almost seems like they took in assets of like these gigantic keeps, but there's almost no reason to actually explore them. Like, going throughout it, I just get miscellaneous items that's like, okay, cool, I can craft some like different shit, or I can maybe upgrade my weapon, but other than that, there was really no reason to come here. Like, I honestly did not understand. They try to incentivize exploration by having like a bunch of different like items you can get and different spells you can get, but so far none of them have been interesting enough to actually make me give a shit. So I was just like, you know what, I'm gonna run through this. But the thing I despise that this game does is that randomly it's just like, you know what, we're going to take this camera that was previously freeform, we're going to just lock it down to a specific camera angle, and we're going to take this game that is absolutely not built like a 2D platformer and make you play it like one. And I'm like, are you fucking serious?
To be honest, I've seen this and I was like, this is one of the things where I was like, oh, it kind of looks cool. Maybe I would want to play that because it does that. And I know for people who like are fans of that genre, probably hate it.
It's so fucking annoying. Like when it happens, I'm like, are you serious? Like there was one section that was a jump puzzle and it was like, okay, we're going to 2D platformer, but here's the thing. This isn't like, it's not built like a 2D platformer. It's not built in 2 dimensions. There is a 3rd dimension, so you can completely miss obstacles. And you're like, my depth perception is so off right now that I killed myself so many times trying to jump to the same platform because I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I don't know how far away this is. It doesn't make any sense. And it was basically like, it's not just solid platforms. It's just like, okay, jump from this one to this one. Oh, it'd be easy. No, it's like a thin platform with one like this, and I have to land on this side, on the long side, and I'm like, I don't know where that fucking is in comparison to where I currently am. Like, it's so fucking annoying. And it's just like adding, so it gives you a double jump to seemingly aid in these 2D platformer sections, but that almost makes the world like, it's one of the things that makes it feel so much less deliberate. Is that I can literally just go wherever the fuck I want. Like, I've jumped, like, I've gotten to these massive keeps, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna fucking cheese this. And I just jumped up the side of it. I'm like, you may have wanted me to go through this gauntlet of, like, trials and tribulations, but you gave me a fucking double jump. Like, I'm just gonna jump up the side. And that's what I did. And got to the end, and I was just like, that was fucking boring. Like, I just didn't, I don't feel the weight of my actions in this game. I'm going to play more. I actually want to finish it, especially since I just finished Ashen. And I want to compare this to, like, I'm currently playing Dark Souls 2. I just finished Ashen, which I might write something on. I'm not exactly sure if I'm going to. But I want to finish Shattered because this is a Souls-like game released in 2021, and I want to see how it compares to, like, earlier games within this genre. And currently, I would say the things that it tries to do to set itself apart are just annoying. I don't like them.
That sucks.
The 2D platformer sections, it's just like, I wouldn't mind if the game was built well for it, or if, like, depth perception, this 3rd dimension, was not a problem, but it is. Like, it exists. And having...
I don't think it's the 3rd dimension. You just need to be able to make it so it still fits well. Like, I think of Crash Bandicoot games. And Crash Bandicoot games have the same thing, where they're 3D, 2D style, where you'll have levels that'll throw you onto this world where it's a 2D world, but you could still move, like closer towards the camera, but it still just works. Like, I think that there is a little bit of getting used to it, but I mean, I can't compare the two, but I think Crash does it really well.
It's very possible that it just doesn't, like, it's very possible that you're correct, and it like, if it was done well, it would have made a little bit more sense, but I would honestly say that I don't think it is. That's fair. Like, I haven't played Crash in a really long time, but like, from what I remember of it, I don't exactly remember not knowing literally at all where I was going to land. Like, there is some small portion of your mind where you're like, I understand the control of my jump enough to where I know I can make it there. And in this, I'm like, I have no idea. And it tries the Souls-like fashion where you can, like, run and jump. In typical Souls-likes, when you run and jump, like, that's the only time you can ever jump, is if you're running, then you jump. It's typically just to get across, like, caverns and stuff like that. There is no height to it. It is all length. It's just to get across, like, open gaps kind of a thing. But in this, it's actually kind of interesting the way that the jump works, because it literally takes away every bit of momentum that you have. When you run, if you jump straight up. That's it. Like, you can move a little bit, but zero momentum that you had before you jumped exists within the jump. So that's you weird. Essentially have to, like, if you want to get from one platform to the next, you have to use both of your jumps. You can't just make an easy jump. It doesn't exist, because when you go to jump, you're just like, let's say I'm running and I'm like da 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 da. And in a Dark Souls game, when you do it and you go to jump, you're like whoa, and you jump like a good 10 feet. You're like a fucking long jumper. In this game, you're like da da da, and you just like fucking, it's like you were going nowhere. You're just a standing fucking long jump on this bitch, but not like you just jump straight up. I'm like, are you fucking serious? And it's happened so many times where I forget that and I go to try to clear a gap and I just fucking died. Like the only time I've really died in this game, I got killed by a boss twice, and every other time I've died is falling into miscellaneous holes. That's it. Like,
yeah, I hate it when that happens to me.
It's so fucking annoying. But I actually, like, if I was to give this game a score of my first impressions, I would say it's probably like a 6 out of 10. I don't think it's absolutely terrible, but like, I don't think it's necessarily like super comparable to games of its ilk that came out before it. I don't think it feels as deliberate. It doesn't feel as good, as smooth as any Souls-like game that I've played before. So I'm going to hopefully play some more. I'm hoping that my feelings change. I'm hoping that I'm going to find out that these fucking swords do anything different than what I currently believe they do. Because right now, I don't understand why I would want to get another sword. Yeah. Like, it's like, okay, this one swings slower, but does more damage. This one swings faster, but does less damage. And it's like, is that the only difference between these swords? And then when I got another sword, it just swung slower and did more damage. I was like, then what's the point of giving me more than just the two?
Yeah.
Like, it's very odd. I can't say whether I would recommend it or not currently. It just entirely depends on how nitpicky you are about, like, the Souls-like franchise. It's possible that you might actually like this. You might like the 2D platformer sections. I don't. I hate them. I fucking despise it. But
I don't know. It depends, because as a person who really enjoys platformers in general, I feel like I'd be a little upset based on, it's the idea of creating a game and putting in multiple parts, or like mixing genres, but not doing that mix where you're not doing anything well, you're just having multiple mediocre parts, kind of what it feels like. And because
it's
of
like
that,
the Destiny criticism,
right? Because of that, like, I would like it because I'd be like, oh, a Souls-like that's kind of Souls-like-y, so it gets me in there, so I like play it. But if it's like just that constantly, I'd probably get burnt out. But it also has a platforming element to it, so I'd be like, oh, cool, it's like a palate cleanser, so to speak. But if both are just mediocre parts of it, like, I'd rather just play a full platformer game. Yeah.
Having played platformers, I do not think it does it well, but this is coming from somebody who is like, I was expecting a Souls-like, so it's very possible that it's like tainted. By the time I got to like a 2D platformer section, I was like, what?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I saw that in our Discord the other day, and I was like, 2D platformer? I was like, what the hell? I was like, that makes no sense.
It's very odd. It's pretty weird, but I am enjoying it a little bit. I would rather play something else. I'm thinking that maybe I'll hop into like the Remnant DLC as like a kind of like a side part or something like that. But currently, I think it's fine. That is the word that I think easily describes this game. I think it is fine.
Good to know.
Let's hop into our main news stories for the day. For today, it's only been an hour, so good stuff. This week, our first news story is over on IGN. It is written by Joe Screbbles, and it is Tarsier Studios, the creator of Little Nightmares, has, well, I guess the actual, title of this article is Little Nightmares creator confirms it's done with the series, but Namco could carry it on regardless. So this is probably going to be the last news story that we ever talk about Tarsier again. Yep. Because one, Bandai Namco owns the Little Nightmares IP and the publishing rights to it, and Tarsier Studios was actually bought by the Embracer Group, so it's not necessarily like indie anymore.
Yep. The news story is indie is gone.
Yeah, basically. So, Tarsier Studios, the creator of Little Nightmares, has confirmed to IGN that Little Nightmares 2 is its last game in the series. However, IP owner and publisher Bandai Namco is energized to make more Little Nightmares games regardless. Yesterday, Tarsier's parent company, Embracer, announced that the developer would now be focusing on new IP, leading to speculation about Little Nightmares' future. Speaking to IGN today, Tarsier's CEO, Andres Johnson. I don't know. It looks like Johnson, but it's got two S's. So, whatever. Made clear that the move means the company will no longer make games in the series. For the last 6 years, our mission at Tarsier has been to create mesmerizing worlds. Little Nightmares was our first attempt and was a huge success. I personally love how Little Nightmares has gathered fans around the world over the course of the last 4 years. From the fan art, extensive fan theories, and genuine reactions, it has all been amazing to witness. Our collaboration with Bandai Namco Entertainment Europe has been extremely satisfying. They listened to our creative vision and took our crazy ideas and ambitions to heart. And there's a lot that they kind of say about this. Mostly what I want to talk about is that, one, there is a little bit of speculation here. The move likely comes down to the fact that Bandai Namco owns the Little Nightmares IP, meaning Embracer would have to either buy or license the rights to use it for any future games. It seems Embracer would prefer Tarsier to make something new rather than take that path. So I was currently wondering, like, when I initially read the news story, I was like, when I read the first bit, I was like, oh, I imagine Embracer was actually the ones who decided. I like how when you get to like the bottom, it's just like, yeah, probably. This probably did. Mm-hmm. And then, I'm going to be honest, this sounds real douchey, but ask for a comment on what its plans are for the series. Namco intimated that it could continue making Little Nightmares games without Tarsier's input. We have nothing to announce at this moment, wrote a spokesperson, but since we receive so much love from our fans all around the world with the release of Little Nightmares 2, we feel energized to develop more content in the future. They don't currently know what studio they're going to actually task with doing this. I forget, there's a section where they said something real douchey. Crap. Now I can't find it. But Josh, while I look for this, tell me, how do you feel about this?
Yeah. So just to vamp for you, I guess. This is interesting because I had no idea that they didn't own the IP, which is kind of annoying because, like, I think if they wanted the series to die and they wrapped it up with a nice, neat little bow, it kind of sucks from a story perspective that they're just possibly going to keep it going, kind of a thing. And then, the story that they wanted to tell is going to change into something else. But I think that's kind of the nature of, creating projects. And it's also the nature of having publishers is sometimes, like, it's awesome that from what that PR statement goes into saying about, they gave them the chance to have that creative vision and to take on those crazy ideas. Like, sounds like they were given a lot of liberty and freedom with creating Little Nightmares, which I think would make sense because it's a pretty, it's a pretty ambitious game, and it's got a very interesting style to it. But unfortunately, sometimes you have to take the risk of you not even owning the actual license to your own game that you spent so long with. I think it's interesting. They talk about like how Embracer Group, like they would want to buy the IP or license it when the people who are in this, who had created it, say they don't want it anymore. So like I feel like that conversation shouldn't even be in there in some regards, because like they wouldn't do it. They clearly said they're done in this, like, and they wouldn't have, like, I feel like it would have been weird for them to go to another studio or to be bought into this company to be like, hey, what you need to do is more of that, even though you don't want to, like, because then why would they have made the leap into this? But that being said, I mean, it's kind of shit that Capcom would keep going with the series, but like,
Bandai Namco.
Excuse me, whatever. Fuck them.
Nah,
They're not indie, so I don't care.
It is a little weird that they will continue the series.
Yeah.
I'm very interested to see how it works. I mean, I guess it's kind of like the Little Big Planet games. They weren't actually all developed by the same team.
Right.
So
Yeah.
but
That's not like, just because it's going to keep going, then it's not the same person who originally started it, that it's going to be bad, Like, I'm not going to say that, but it is going to be weird, and it's going to be, obviously different in a certain way, and I'm sure that might sit well with some and not with others.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've yet to play Little Nightmares 2. I'm actually super stoked to play it because I actually really enjoyed the first. But I hope that if they continue the series, they continue with this same caliber of story, the same caliber of storytelling as they had before. But I currently have no idea. I think Little Nightmares 2 is actually getting pretty decent reviews across the board. I've seen like 7s and 8s.
Yeah, it's about average kind of a game, apparently.
But all in all, I think I couldn't find what I thought they were talking shit. Maybe I just fucking hallucinated it because I'm tired.
You just always think people are talking shit.
Yeah, dude, I think I have a problem. I just always thinking people are insulting me.
You're too aggressive.
I'm just insulting people first,
just
bro.
Relax, man. Relax.
I got problems, bro. I got me some problems. But
speaking of problems,
I'm interested to see what happens. But like you said, speaking of problems, our next news story is over on GameSpot. It is written by Eddie McCook, and it is Peter Molyneux's 22 Can Studio Renax. What the fuck?
I don't know what Renax means.
Enacts layoffs, because I don't know why I was like
he's reenacting his layoffs.
Yeah, I have no idea why I just did that, but whatever. You ever wonder if the only, like, one of the main reasons outside of the, like, obvious, like, I'm a piece of shit thing and, like, a liability to any brand, but, like, do you ever wonder if the reason that I will never get a job at GameSpot or in any sort of affiliated content with them is because I can't pronounce their fucking names correctly?
Yeah, maybe.
They're just like, dude, you've been calling me Eddie McCook for like 2 years, bro. Fuck you.
Fuck you. Yeah, I mean, maybe. That's why I chose not to do the names or read off any of the articles. I was like, you got it, big boy. It's all you.
That's assuming people are that petty. That they're just like, fuck you.
I don't think so, but I don't know. Maybe if his name is like real different, then maybe he's pissed off.
There's a guy for the gamer that his name is Sean Murray, and that totally threw me off. It spelled the exact same, and I was like, hold up, what? And I had to fucking eagle-eyed his picture, and I was like, okay, it's not the same guy. That would have been weird. Because it was like, I think they were actually reporting on the No Man's Sky story, and I was like, seems like a conflict of interest.
He's writing his own articles.
It was weird.
Game is super great. People should buy it.
Check it out. Lots of free content. Please spend $60. Buy several copies. Good for the whole family. But onto the news story. Veteran game developer Peter Molyneux's UK studio 22 Cans has undergone a round of layoffs. Multiple employees were let go in the move, but the precise number of cuts was not made public. A spokesperson confirmed to GamesIndustry.biz that the layoffs at the Fabled Designer Studios were due to a variety of reasons. Unfortunately, due to a number of factors, including projects reaching a certain stage in their development, we can confirm that a number of roles at 22 Cans have been made redundant, the studio said. Development at the studio is continuing, however. Affected staff are being provided assistance to find new jobs, the report said. Founded in 2012. Okay, so that I don't need to read that part, but I mostly wanted to talk about this because, I think it was on the last episode of ETG that I did with Eldar. We talked about our favorite game trilogies, and I talked about Fable, and we were both like, where the fuck did Peter Molyneux go? This is where he went.
Yeah.
And he's just fucking shit up, leaving scorched earth wherever he goes.
I didn't even realize this was the thing either until this article came out, and I was like, oh, okay, what kind of games were they working on before? And I looked at them, and I was like, this is not what I expected.
Yeah, it's a little weird. It's not like have you seen the game, like some of the people who worked on Fable that worked for Lionhead Studios, they made Kinseed over on Steam, and I believe it's in early access. It looks very interesting, and I love, like, part of the trailer is like this is a bug, but let's just call it a feature joke. And I think it's awesome. It brings a lot of the humor that I would expect from like former Fable devs into it. But checking out like basically 22 Kansas games, I checked like Goddess, Godus, seems to not be doing well. People are not really enjoying it. It has like mixed reviews all over.
Can't say I'm surprised.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what happens. Like I love that the Steam page for it said something along the lines of like trying to revamp the God games, and I'm like, there's actually a shitload of people who are already making these games. There's like Doodle God, Doodle Devil, there's like Reuse, there's like a shitload of people making these games, but they almost make it seem like they're the first people to try to redo it. I'm just like, people fucking they making this shit? Like, I don't know what you're talking about, but okay. But of course, layoffs, it's really like it's the industry has this tumultuous cycle where they essentially like take on a shitload of people for development, and then seemingly, I'm assuming they're coming close to the end of a development of a project, so they're just like, cool, we're laying you all off, which really blows. I would want to know, like, I mean, this is just like a transparency's sake. They wouldn't actually have to reveal this in any way, but I would want to know the extent to which they are assisting them in finding new jobs.
Right.
But I don't really know, because it doesn't seem like that happens that often.
Probably not. Probably severance package and just have a nice day.
Yeah, I mean, I hope it would be a little bit more than this. I hope it wouldn't be like a Telltale scenario where it literally took like Emily Grace Buck kind of rallying everybody and being like, we need fucking jobs, to them to act like the games industry to just flood them with jobs. But later in News Cram, we will be talking about somebody looking to hire some peeps. But that is not currently. So how do you feel about this, other than just not knowing at all that Peter Molyneux existed in the games
still
industry?
Exists? Yeah, no, I don't know. Honestly, like I said, that list, the library of games that has come from this studio, is not at all anything I would ever be interested in looking at them. So I can't say, like, and that's not to say that, you know, that they're anyone,
bad games?
Yeah, they're bad games, or that anyone deserves this, because I don't think that's the case. I think it's just not my style. I think it's weird coming from an ex-Fable head. But
yeah, I almost wouldn't bring it up.
Right.
I would almost just like not even talk about Peter Molyneux, because one, Fable left such like a bad taste in people's mouths, even though they're good games, and two, like they have nothing in common. Like it's like, I made a God game, and you're just like, well, okay,
like,
what does that have to do with Fable?
Right, exactly. I think the interesting part about that is they wouldn't release the numbers, which makes me wonder like how much, because I tried to look at how many people are even on this crew, and the only thing they'll give you is that the reason why it was called 22 Cans is because that's 22 number of people that started originally. But I don't know how big it got. I don't know how big it is now after these cuts, and it's like, it's very interesting to see, especially because, you know, the thing that sucks is you mentioned, you know, that the dev cycles and how like once they're done with something, if they don't have an immediate next project, you have to get rid of people, right? Because it's not financially sound to just keep people on a payroll without there being work for them to do. But the thing that sucks is like that's the reason why you figure that out as far as like project planning and add contractors if you're not in the light to have people like to have something for them at the end. But I mean, that being said, it's hard to manage that, and I probably would fuck up if I was in that role too. So like I can't put any blame on people, but I think there's ways to do it better, because you know there's other companies that aren't screwing it up. But
yeah, I mean, there's also the other side of the spectrum when devs rely too much on contract work, and it just doesn't make any sense. From what I understand, that's one of the main problems with like Halo Infinite, is that they have outsourced so much of the development that it's like, what the fuck is happening with this game?
No, for sure.
So I mean, two sides to every coin, I guess, but still, I wish the games industry didn't have such like major layoffs, but it's just kind of like it's a fact of the industry currently. Yeah, it's just like I don't know.
Well, I think it's a clear example that the work that we do in the games industry, not that we don't fucking do anything. Yeah, but like the work that, you know, game developers and designers do is stuff that is not in a territory where you can formalize this into this is the straight process that you have for XYZ, because one, it's creative work, and creative work can't really be done in a step A, step B kind of way, at least not to the full extent. But like two is that there's so much that goes into this, and if you're creating something that's new, whether that's a new mechanic or a new art style or just a new idea, it's like you have no way to really formalize exactly how long that's going to take. And so I think that's why it becomes a lot tougher than, say, like something that's more set in stone, like specifically set in stone. Like if you were building like an actual and like architecture kind of thing, if you had a building that you were putting up, like this thing has been done many times before, and if you're not doing anything out of the ordinary, you probably have very key indicators that you have to hit and know how many people are going to be needed, because this has been done for years and years, and a lot of it is very process oriented and set in stone. But like video games are tough, man.
Yeah, and it's such a young industry that basically it almost seems like whenever criticisms of the industry come up, we all, like, everyone who talks about it wants it to be like every other job. They want it to be an easy, like, cut and dry 9 to 5, but it's obviously proven to just not be that way.
Yeah, I don't think it ever will be.
Nobody likes crunch, but like games very rarely are made without it, and I would like that to change, but it's like currently the industry just has to work through that. We have to find ways around it. I guess that's why people continue to push for like crunchless development cycles and stuff like that. So I hope stuff continues to change. I hope someday we no longer see like mass hirings and mass layoffs, like binging and purging. I hope it doesn't exist, but currently that is just the state of the industry, and people who are far more intelligent than I can develop strategies to counter that. So instead, let's talk about my level of intelligence and humor over on GameSpot. This is written by Stephen T. Wright, and it is Disc Room will always take place 69 years in the future. Nice. So, if you were somehow emotionally attached to Disc Room's stated setting of 2089, we've got bad news for you. Jen Willem Neiman, maybe, I don't know, a developer of the indie action game, recently revealed that the year in the game's intro automatically updates to be 69 years in the future. That means that players who start the game this year will see the following crawl instead. So before it said 2189, now it says in 2090, a giant disk is discovered in orbit of Jupiter. In orbit of Jupiter, a crew of international scientists is sent to investigate. So basically, like, they prepared for the future in one very specific way, that every year that passes after this game's development, which I really want to know if it will actually continue, like in fucking 200 years, when we basically we're playing fucking full dive virtual reality, and the PlayStation 4 is a rock. It's a fucking fossil. It's like encased in amber, like Jurassic Park. Somebody chips it out, boots up Disc Room, and it's just like, this is based in, I don't know, 2264. I don't know. I didn't think that through. I should have actually done the math.
Just
200. I'm too tired for that bullshit. I like how I could have just easily said, 2290, but instead I was like, fuck me. I'm just going to go some weird shit.
Just fucking, why you got to complicate things, Vaughn?
I don't know. It's just the way I do things. It's just like that, like the overthinking things to the point where I'm like about to shit my pants thing. My wife keeps telling me, she's like, I just wish that you could stop, that you could be like, I don't have to poop, but I'm like, I can't. It's just not possible.
It's too tough. Sometimes you just gotta poop, you know?
I just get too in my head about things, and I'm just like, it's happening. So, Josh, tell me your thoughts on this 69 years in the future debacle that's happening with Disc Room.
Debacle.
Yeah, because there's got to be someone out there that's really annoyed that this is going to continually update until seemingly the end of time, until the Earth, its oceans are wiped out by a solar flare, that they're annoyed that fucking Disc Room is always 69 years in the future.
I got to tell you, this is a pretty funny little joke here. The fact that they got 4 paragraphs out of this is nuts.
Okay, dude. The fact that like that's written by GameSpot, right?
Yeah.
The fact that they got 4 paragraphs out of that, but there is a news article about the announcement of a video game. I believe it was Neon White that I did for News Cram. Literally like 3 sentences, less than 3 sentences. I was like, you didn't even try. There's not even a picture. They're like barely links. What the fuck is happening? Like, I'm going to see if I can find it. Honestly, it annoyed me so much when I came across it that I was just like, did you try?
Do you know what Neon White is? Have you seen the Nintendo Direct?
I checked it out last week when Errol talked about it in the Discord. Once again, make sure to join the IndiePod Discord in our pinned tweet so you could talk about indie games. But yeah, this is written by like Steve Watts, and it is literally, let's see, 1, 2, 3 fucking sentences. What?
It looks like a game I'm gonna love.
It looks
also
dope as shit.
Made
dude.
by the same guy who did Donut County.
Yeah. I mean, we're gonna talk about it in News Cram. It seems really cool, but like, the fact that they juiced like, I forget who wrote that news article, but you need to teach Steve Watts how to elongate shit. Actually, that's not true because a lot of the time, shit is way too overblown. There is a perfect median there, and shit is either way too long and they need to learn chunking, or like fucking way too short. It's like 2 sentences. And you're like, are you serious right now? Why'd you even write it?
I do like it sometimes when they add like random shit that has like nothing to do with the article though, because it gives you like little interesting facts that I didn't know, like this one right here. Several of the developers who worked on it previously collaborated on the similarly compact action game Minute. Didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. I mean, we'll actually talk about it in News Cram, but like, a lot of the people who...
everything in News Cram.
Yeah, exactly.
My
a lot of the
goodness.
people who worked on Disroom also worked on Minute and worked on Minute, the racing game.
Wow.
So it's kind of interesting.
It's like we're an
they're all
indie
just
news game podcast. We got all these facts and shit. Are we doing something
dude.
right?
I fucking know. It's almost like this is what we do every fucking week. Oh,
do we?
Boy,
I don't do
like
shit.
That.
Dude, I gotta find a way. I gotta find a way to get that video to actually GIF
so good,
properly.
Oh yeah.
It's good. It's good. I fucking need that. I need that because I want to get that into the internet because
it's perfect.
I have officially successfully completed being a podcaster when I can type in either my name or something weird that goes with that, that general idea, and a GIF of my face comes up. That's what I fucking want.
Okay, yeah, that's your measure of success.
That's my measure of success.
You actually have a GIF?
When someone is, without even thinking about it, using my face in their conversations, GIF-wise, fucking did it.
You're like, I can just die then, actually. Like, I've peaked. It's all downhill from here.
Pull up the contract. We're over.
No million episodes for me. I'm fucking done. The second I get a GIF. I love that you personally tried to make this GIF so, like, there was a time where we were, I believe, recording or, like, on a break or something, or I think it might have been when we were waiting for Caitlin on that episode. You were trying to do the GIF, and it was just, like, every time you exported it was so fucked up.
It kept getting screwed up. I don't understand why. I don't know why. And, like, there's no reason why it should have had a problem. But... I digress. Clearly, this is a riveting news story because we've taken such a wide tangent. 69 is a great number, and I think we can move on.
We're just so fucking good at it, dude. So, our last news story for today, at least our big one, is over on The Gamer. It's written by James Troughton. I'm fucking up everybody's name, okay? I'm just going to say from now on, Chris Penwell, he writes everything for The Gamer. That's it. He's
Close
the
enough.
fucking Liam Doolin of The Gamer.
Oh, man.
Okay?
Where's Liam Doolin? Where's the fucking Nintendo Life articles?
Dude, I see him sometimes. When I shoot through News Cram, I'm like, Liam, it's good to see that you're still out there. You're still doing there. Shit. I appreciate you.
Liam, when he fixes his internet, he better come on the podcast.
Yeah, and I can criticize him if I find an article that says a game is only coming to Nintendo Switch. I can be like, why?
I know.
Why would you do that? Every time Nintendo Life does it, they're like, it's coming to Nintendo Switch. And I'm like, and 65 other platforms. Like, it's coming to the fucking Amiga or whatever. Like, fucking single cell organisms can play this fucking game. And they're just like, only the Nintendo Switch. Fuck me. Whatever. So... our next news story, like I said, over on The Gamer. This is the Nintendo Switch version of Firewatch has an exclusive secret. An extensive retro-themed Easter egg has been added to Firewatch's Nintendo Switch port, which launched on December 17th, 2018. I kind of wonder if anyone knew this existed until now, by the way, because it's just now. Like, this is the first report I've personally seen of it, but that's also just because I suck ass at everything.
Right. You're saying this Easter egg, like this thing that's in the actual Switch game?
Yeah, I'm wondering if it was noticed
before
before
this
like
tweet.
2020. Like if it took almost 2 years or if it took almost 3 years for this to actually like come out. But it's not just a fun little cartridge in Henry's Tower or a shred of dialogue. What the fuck is wrong with me?
I believe in you. Words are hard, but you'll get there. Don't you worry.
Thank you so much. A fully functioning added game mode exclusive to the handheld console. Getting it up and running takes some steps, but it's easy enough to pull off. On the Beartooth and Thoroughfare sign, you'll find a little note which adds a 1964 onto your map, nested between Thoroughfare Basin and Wapiti Meadow. I don't know. Mulk Point, and Beartooth Point. It's right by Cache 341. Going here has its very own box to open. I think that's actually a really weird way to say that. It's got its very own box to open.
I guess the cache has a box. I don't know.
I don't fucking know. It's weird.
There's an N64 cartridge in there.
One that does in fact contain a cartridge from the game called Forest 64. With it in hand, you need to venture toward a brand new statue that's been added to the park. It's an N64 themed character that Camposanto has created just for this Easter egg. He's a short, stout little man with a shovel in hand, wearing a classic, almost Friday the 13th looking counselor outfit. I like how they compared it to Friday the 13th. Bro looks straight out of fucking Curious George, bruh. Like, he looks exactly the same. Friday the 13th, my ass. This is fucking George's, like, I'm gonna say it's George's pet. George ain't the pet. He's the fucking, he's the dom, okay? And we've got this little cuck ass. He's sitting here in his stupid ass little, like, yellow suit. I don't know. Curious George looking ass. Freaking. I don't even know that guy's name, I'm gonna be honest. Like,
I think it's just the man in the yellow hat, isn't it? Maybe?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know Curious George. I just know he's a monkey. Whatever.
Wow.
He's a
Fucking
short, stout
wow.
man, looking like a counselor. And you have to use the cartridge here. You are then transported into like a 3D platformer collectathon level of the game where you go around grabbing a bunch of different like Firewatch icons. That's it. That's like it's an honestly really cool Easter egg, and I'm glad that we have a question about this in the listener questions about Easter eggs, because this is fucking cool.
Yeah, this is
like,
probably the coolest one, dude. And also
100%.
I was watching the video of like the person playing it. The music, so good, man. The music makes me straight up just think of like the old Banjo-Kazooie games, and I'm just like, man, this looks like it's straight out of an N64 game. Like, I feel like I could have nostalgia from this, even though I've never played it.
You're like, I'm getting some hardcore nostalgia vibes from this.
Yeah.
And they're like, it's fucking made in like 2018, bro.
Don't matter, man. Brings me right back to my childhood.
Did you ever play Firewatch just in general?
No, I've never played it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
it's always.
I mean, you've
always
been on
my
like kind
backlog.
of like an adventure game kick recently.
I know. Maybe I should. Maybe I should. Yeah, it's always been one that I've wanted to.
It's good.
The people listening to this are gonna be like, "What the fuck? What was that pause for?" And you'll never know unless you watch it on YouTube. So the game has always been on my backlog of sorts, but I've never gotten to it. But I've heard so many great things. And it sucks because I wouldn't pick this up on Switch, but like kind of want that little Easter egg.
There's so many people that talk shit about this game that are just like, oh, it's so misleading. Like,
really?
They're thinking it's going to be a supernatural story kind of a thing. Yeah. I personally, I fucking love this shit, dude. I loved Firewatch Like I very much enjoyed it. I thought it was a very well told story, and I personally went into it not expecting anything super crazy. So I think if you go into it with like measured expectations of what is going to happen in the game instead of like kind of leading into the hype, it's very, very good. Plus art style, fucking chef's kiss. It looks very, very good. It's really awesome. I really loved it. So that is our last news story for today. If you would like to take part in this cool little Easter egg, make sure to pick up Firewatch on the Nintendo Switch. It's a cool game just in general, but this is also a cool added benefit. But it's time for us to hop into News Cram. Good stuff, good stuff. News Cram is our weekly wrap-up segment where we, the hosts of Indie Pod and Indie Games Podcast, cram you full of all sorts of indie game news. Cram! This week in News Cram, we have 2 quick news stories.
What if I did that in between every article?
That'd be pretty crazy. I would imagine that would feel a little bit abrupt. People would be like, what the
fuck is that?
Fuck is that?
I'm getting cramped right now.
What the hell is even that?
All right.
We've got some new deals and quick deals and some new stuff, of course. Our first quick news story for today comes by way of Nintendo Life, where it's reported that the people behind Shovel Knight Pocket Dungeon are currently looking for additional members to pad out their team near the end of development. They're currently looking for experienced Game Maker 2 developers. For all those interested, send your samples to careers@yachtclubgames.com. Specifically, that was what the article said. So if you want to work with the Yacht Club, you want to work on Shovel Knight Pocket Dungeon, send your shit over there.
First off, I can't wait for this game. Second off, can't believe we got a thing about developers contracting right in this News Cram article. Yeah. And third thing, motherfucking Liam Doolin!
Just gotta call it out. Just gotta say, hey, buddy.
Gotta go. Up, dude? All right, let's go.
And lastly, over on The Gamer, it's reported that Dev Studio very positive, and their game Emoji Evolution has seemingly been excised from the Steam marketplace. Yet, for those still wishing to support and or check out the game, it's been reposted on itch.io.
I'm surprised
you can head over there.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
It's so fucking dumb, dude. Even if they said that they were trying to trick people, it's like, so does fucking everyone. Do you know how many hentai tags I see on fucking Steam games that have no titty? Like, have no fucking actual sex in the game, bro? So many. Okay?
So salty.
It's my job to be an informed consumer. I have to watch to see if it has what I want.
It really is. I was gonna say I'm surprised this wasn't our one of our main news article discussions, because I feel like
it's mostly because
off on a tangent. But
it was mostly because the article itself didn't actually have a whole lot of additional information.
Gotcha. Yeah,
they say that they got banned, but like Steam hasn't said that they got banned. It's just gone.
They're just gone from existence.
Yeah, that's why I said excised instead of banned, because it's just gone. Like it's like they cut it off. They're just like boop. Like, I don't know if they, like, very positive that development studio can never come back to Steam, or if, like, it's contingent on them changing it to, like, Monkey Ball Studio or whatever. Like, I don't fucking know.
That seems more reasonable.
Yeah, they very specifically are like, we need your studio to be called Gooch.
I hope they rebrand it, and they just rebrand it to It's a Good Game.
Ah, okay. What if they, how awesome would it be if they just said, like, mixed? Like, they just put it as, like, mixed reviews. Did the exact opposite. And they're just like, I mean, you're still doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Like, I wonder if Valve and, like, Steam would be annoyed about it if they just said, like, if they changed it from very positive to just, like, mixed reviews.
Sort of positive.
Yeah. I think it would be really interesting. They're just like, I mean, I guess that works.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think this is reason to ban them, but whatever.
And we currently don't even know if they're banned. Their game does not exist on the platform anymore, but you can go check it out on itch. It's kind of like from what I understand, it's like a pay what you want scenario with this game as well, similar to a lot of games over on itch. So you could pay a bunch, you could pay nothing. You can fucking hawk $100 at them because you thought that what they did was fucking hilarious. Nobody knows. I mean, honestly, I think it's fucking dumb.
Do you think they'll rebrand to not as positive games? I think that would be great.
Do you think they'll rebrand to like Steam Sucks My Anus? Do you think that?
I think that's a stretch. I think.
Oh, okay.
I think that might maybe monkey balls though. I think that's now I'm getting a little warmer on monkey balls, which is a weird sentence to say.
All right. Now on to some new deals and quick steals. Our first deal of this week comes by way of Polygon, where it's reported that several awesome indies have just been added to Xbox Game Pass, including Pillars of Eternity 2 Deadfire on console, Super
I'm
Hot
so pissed
on
that it's only
PC.
console.
Yeah, it does really suck. Admittedly, that does really blow. I mean, I bought it when it was on sale, so I don't whatever, dude. I'm a cool kid. I'm that kid. And Killer Queen Black on both console and the cloud. And lastly, over on The Gamer, it is reported that you can pick up Lovecraftian adventure RPG Sunless Sea by Fail Better Games on the Epic Games Store, completely free from February 25th until March 4th. I mean, fucking Fail Better Games just seems like it's like an all-encompassing idea for our Twitch streams and everyone who's just like, Vaughn, just do better. And I'm like, I don't understand what you mean by that. It's impossible. I just fucking suck.
A lot of fun with the Cuphead streams.
It's like every time they're just like, Vaughn, do better. And I'm just like, how? Like,
it would be
it's
nice
awesome.
though, but it's okay.
I mean, it definitely would be. You would actually have beaten the game. You never know.
By now, probably, because I feel like if
it's not a long game.
I feel like if we were on the same page, we'd get through it a lot quicker.
I love how you do, like, if you were not an idiot, we'd get through it.
I did not say that.
You're like, I mean, you said it, not me.
You said it, not me. I mean, I'll just agree. That's fine.
Now on to some new stuff. Our first 4 items in new stuff come away of Nintendo Life, where it's reported that adventure RPG Sorcery Parts 1 and 2 are headed to the Nintendo Switch sometime in Q3 2021. That Metroidvania Blasphemous has just received a new piece of free DLC that adds both levels from Bloodstained Ritual of the Night as well as the protagonist herself, Miriam, to the game.
That's cool.
That 2D action platformer Bloodstained Curse of the Moon 2 by Inti Creates is getting a physical release on the Nintendo Switch and PlayStation 4 through limited run games, with pre-orders going live on February 25th and running through the 26th of March. And lastly, that platformer Sir Lovelot by Pixel.lu is headed to the PC via Steam and the Nintendo Switch on March 3rd. Now over to Polygon, where it's reported that Shovel Knight has officially invaded For Honor with several themed costumes attributed to the titular Spade Warrior. Honestly, the article did not get real detailed on this. I don't know if it exists currently or if this is something coming later. I have no idea if you unlock them, if you pay for them. No fucking idea, but they will eventually exist in For Honor. There you go.
Keep your eyes
now
peeled.
Over on Twinfinite, where it supported that adventure RPG Chicory: A Colorful Tale by Greg Lobanov is now headed to the PlayStations 4 and 5, as well as PC via Steam sometime later this year. We already knew PC, but the PlayStation 4 and 5 are pretty cool. Pretty cool. I made sure to include that, mostly because I didn't want people to think that it wasn't coming to PC. So it's like, I'm just going to put that there, even though you already knew it. So there you go.
All good.
Now, over on IGN, where it is reported that the minds behind the hit 2018 adventure game Minute and action-adventure game Disc Room have joined forces once again, and this results being a new racing game called Minute Fun Racer, which is currently available on PC via Steam and itch.io, costing between $2.99, $9.99, or $19.99, with all the proceeds going to charity. They have yet to actually pick out the charity. It took me a while to figure that out. It's going to charity, but they don't know which one. And I'm expecting, like, the charity of my pocket and kind of a thing. Like, me just being, like, somewhat of a pessimist, I'm just like, the like Vaughn doesn't have to eat ramen charity. Like, what charity is this going towards? But I think it's cool that they're doing it in general.
This looks
pretty
so
cool.
Cute.
Yeah, it looks really interesting.
I love the art style.
Yeah, Minute has a really cool art style in general, and then they made like a pseudo racing game based on it. It does look very cute. It looks really, really interesting. That smash hit Battle Royale game Fall Guys Ultimate Knockout by Mediatonic is headed to the Xbox Series X and S, Xbox One, and the Nintendo Switch sometime this summer. That massively popular survival game Valheim by Irongate Studios is set to receive more content throughout 2021, including possible mini-bosses and ship customization. It's all kind of up in the air exactly what's going to happen with that game, but 100% it's going to receive more content because that shit is blowing up. Everybody's fucking.
Have you started to look into checking that game out?
Yeah, I almost bought it like last week.
I feel like it's a game for you. All of my friends are playing it right now, and they've been trying to get me into it, and I've just been like, no.
I mean, I like survival craft games in general. I like Norse, like the Norse setting. And I also, I enjoy base building, and I enjoy what seems to be its combat style. Like, there's so much about it that I think that I will really like. But currently, I'm just like, you know what? I'm playing fucking Shattered. I'm playing these different games. Like, I don't need to get into Valheim right now. I don't need to pay $19.99. That's how it's the same rationale. Like, when the Steam Lunar Sale came around, my cart at the end of it, after I picked everything I wanted, was $124. And I was like, okay, now what games will I play right now, or what is like a DLC to something that I'm going to play soon? Guess how much money I spent. From $124. My wife guessed $60.
I'm going to say 40.
$10. I spent $10. Yeah.
Damn. Look at you, you frugal fuck.
I literally only bought the Dark Moon expansion for Elder Scrolls Online. That's the only thing I bought during that.
So proud.
It was like $10. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna play more Elder Scrolls Online sooner or later, so just gonna do that. But there you go. Valheim getting some more content. That action adventure game Outer Wilds by Mobius Digital is headed to the Nintendo Switch sometime this summer. That open universe exploration game No Man's Sky just received yet another piece of free content. Another piece of free. I fucked this up. Piece of free content that gives players the ability to tame, breed, and train the creatures they encounter throughout their travels. I think that's fucking dope. That makes me want to play No Man's Sky so badly. I've seen people not only riding on beetles but cuddling with a beetle. Fuck yeah, dude.
Oh shit.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. It's a space beetle. It's even better.
Wow.
It's fucking awesome.
What a world.
That action roguelite Dandy Ace by Mad Mimic is headed to PC via Steam on March 25th, with the console ports of the game scheduled for sometime this summer. This game, its combat style looks very similar to Hades, and in the article they reference Hades as kind of literally the exact same way. So if you're a fan of Hades, check out Dandy Ace. It's coming to Steam March 25th.
Yep,
and lastly, that Overcooked All You Can Eat is headed to the Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and Steam on March 23rd. Now it's over on The Gamer, where it's reported that Action RPG Crosscode by Radical Fish Games is getting a new set of post-game DLC titled A New Home, with a release date of February 26th that will continue the game's main narrative. That 3D platformer Bang on Balls Chronicles by Exit Plan Games is headed to Steam Early Access on March 3rd. And lastly, that management sim, Buildings Have Feelings Too. It has an exclamation point, so I just felt like that
fucking
inflection.
Love that voice you just used. Yeah. I feel like that should be in the title screen.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You should.
If they're gonna cut anything, they just fucking me, man.
Yeah,
dude. Clip me.
I think they need that. I think
everybody needs some of that.
I think everybody needs that. Developers, get on.
You can't see I'm winking.
I can't.
By Blackstaff Games is headed to the PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Nintendo Switch, and PC via Steam sometime this March. And to round out the group over on GameSpot, it is reported that action roguelite Hades by Supergiant Games is officially getting a physical release exclusively on the Nintendo Switch, with pre-orders already live and a price of $35. That indie publisher Annapurna Interactive has just announced an upcoming first-person action platformer, Neon White, developed developed by Ben Esposito, the creator of puzzle game Donut County. But don't get too excited. The game won't be releasing until winter 2021 on PC and the Nintendo Switch. And lastly, that turn-based tactics game Bravery Network Online by Gloom is now available in Steam Early Access. The game looks really cool, honestly. It has a very like Scott Pilgrim versus the World art style. I would recommend if anybody enjoys that art style, check that shit out because it looks really cool. But, Big Josh Boy, we've been blessed with so many amazing indie game news stories that it's time for us to get back to the creators. In our next segment, God Bless the Crowd, this is where the biggest of average Josh Boys find something awesome for us to talk about over on crowdfunding sites, and we do just so. This week, we are headed over to Kickstarter as per freaking usual. I mean, it's just because it's like the best platform to do this shit with.
I mean, yeah, I check Fig like every week and they never have anything new. I kind of hate Indiegogo's website. I mostly stick to Kickstarter because it's just, this is where a lot of the crowdfunding is, you know?
Like Indiegogo looks like it's a place where you'd get your identity
Scammed?
stolen.
Yeah,
and
100%.
Or find like be hit up by a pedophile. Like it looks like the cross section between those two things. It's like I'm definitely gonna get sold some sort of antivirus software that actually fucks up my computer on Indiegogo.
Yes, yeah,
that's guaranteed gonna happen.
Yeah,
I have to do this every fucking time because this shit
you got it. You got it.
Refuses to focus on my face. But this week, we're headed over to Kickstarter to talk about Pine, a story-driven game, a story about loss and letting go, told through illustration, animation, and interaction. The developers, specifically named Made Up Games, were originally looking for $80,000. They currently have, at the time of this recording, $92,448 with 1,683 backers and 20 days, or no, not 20, 10 fucking days left to go. What?
10
20.
days. Close.
And to get it on the ground floor, you just got to fork up $5, and you not only get a copy of Pine, you also get digital wallpaper pack, Our Deepest Appreciation, which I'm just going to say that's fine now. I don't, as long as it's not a tier by its own, you know what I mean? Actually, it is. It fucking is.
It is, baby. That $1 tier.
And access to dev updates. So, Josh, what do you think about Pine?
This definitely isn't really like my normal style of game, I'll say, but I think it looks very close to something of a similar style to Florence. It has that same very, narrative feel to it, a very, I like a lot of the somber tones in this about the fact that it is a story about loss. It seems to be you going through this lumberjack's story, or maybe not lumberjack, but he's some kind of woodworker. Yeah. Of going through his story and the loss of probably, it seems to be either his wife or daughter or some individual, and him dealing with that, right? And so they talk about this being a blend between, somewhat movie / a game of, kind of controlling those actions, but it not being too like mechanically intensive, which I think is fine. I think for a small experience, which I assume this would be, excuse me, I'm like fucking dying over here. Excuse me. I think it would work, and the two individuals who are on this seem to be passionate about it based on the interview that's in the Kickstarter. Personally, like I said, probably is not something I would back, and plus I don't have to because they kind of made it, but I thought it looked cute. I thought it looked interesting, and I think this is definitely in the right set to be something like that, the next Florence, if done correctly. So it's one that I thought I wanted to shout out just to kind of keep tabs on, so to speak.
I think the comparison to Florence is very, very apt, especially because it was originally only planned for like Android and iOS.
Yep.
Very similar to Florence, and then like it reached a stretch goal that is going to include a PC, Mac, and Linux release of the game. So I think they're very much shooting for like a Florence style like idea of it, with the exception of seemingly you're not going to be like piecing together dialogue bubbles and stuff like that. But it also doesn't have dialogue. That is something that they talk about in the like trailer itself and throughout the Kickstarter, is that this game actually lacks spoken dialogue or like written dialogue.
Right.
And I think that's really awesome that it's entirely through like it's very much like Florence, where it's entirely through the pictures and their interaction with other characters in the universe that we actually get the story told. I'm fairly certain that this was his wife, because if it was his daughter, he's looking at her in a weird way. He's got them fuck me eyes, and it's a little weird.
Yeah,
so
maybe.
I very much hope that it is his wife. I'm gonna be honest, like, this is giving me some hardcore like Florence or like Up feels, which is a little weird saying Up, but like just that first section of Up where you just want to kill yourself because it's so fucking sad. That's the shit I'm seeing right here.
That is a pull on the heartstrings, if you will. No, but I'm glad you brought that point up, because I really do enjoy the fact that they're not putting any dialogue in this, because I think that obviously there is the caveat, or not the caveat, but the risk of taking this approach, because if you're not good at storytelling in a way without words, you're not going to have a good game or story, whatever it might be. But if it
can be done poorly.
Right. But if it is done well, it's so incredible, because being able to tell that story in a way that is very unique and very emotional instead is so much more impactful, at least in my eyes. So I'm excited to see, where this goes. I want to see what story they can tell and how it's told, and if that's going to stick with people.
I mean, it should be said that the art looks fucking great. I mean, there are some tidbits I have, like, I really hope that it hits this 100,000 stretch goal so that they can add more scenes, will be animated, and key scenes will feature more fluid animation, because in all honesty, I found the trailer to be a little bit like it's very like storyboarded. Right? Yeah, it seemed like it had like some frame rate hitching where like sometimes they would be very fluid, but other times they'd be like, kind of like barely moving. So I hope they hit the 100,000 stretch goals so that they can implement like a couple more flames, like literally just a few to smooth it out, kind of a deal. But the art style reminds me very much of like a short from like Disney's Fantasia, kind of a deal. Like it looks very reminiscent of that art style, and I think it looks really, really awesome. Admittedly, there was a moment in the trailer where I audibly laughed. I thought it was so funny when like he's like in his head, he's thinking of the past, and he's like, it's a really sad moment, but like the way they depict it is super funny to me, where like he's holding the hand, like he's about to kiss the hand of the person that he loves, and then it shoots forward, he's kissing like a wood hand. I laughed super hard. I was just like it was just such a weird thing to have. So I was like, I cracked up quite a bit, but honestly, the game looks really, really good. I might actually check it out, especially for $5.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's not a crazy
I don't
ask.
know. Yeah, I don't know if I'll back it necessarily because it's already hit that. Well, I mean, I do want it to hit the 100,000, so maybe I'll toss some $5. It's not fucking insane. Right. But I personally, I think I'll check it out when the game actually comes out. If it's anything like Florence was, because I really adored that game, especially the music. Still don't know why the soundtrack was taken off Spotify. It might be back now, but I don't know. Shit was great. I hope that this game has similar feels when it comes to the music, but of course it's obviously like entirely different teams that are making this game versus Florence. But I hope the seemed inspiration also is taken into account when you like bring in their composer kind of a deal. But personally, think the game looks awesome. Probably gonna check it out. Seemingly it's gonna be a small experience, and it's gonna make me want to die, so like why not? Like that's gonna be good shit.
Good shit.
Any last remarks that you want to get off your chest while we're still talking about this game on Kickstarter?
No, I think I'm good.
All right. I mean, I'm so glad we didn't end that with me talking about how I was going to kill myself. So,
me
on
too.
to our listener questions.
Sometimes these things just happen. Sometimes you got to let it go, you know? It's all about letting go. That's what Pine is about. All right? And Vaughn is letting go.
You got it, dude. You got it. So, time to hop into our listener questions. Sam Fillion from Canada writes in and says, there I was last night playing the Resident Evil Village demo. Also, do you have a PlayStation 5, Sam? Because I'm pretty sure that demo is only on PS5.
On PS5, yeah.
What the fuck, Sam?
Sam's got that fucking
You ain't telling us
money.
you got PS5? Yeah, dude. Sam's got that homie hookup apparently in like the government or whatever to get a PlayStation 5. I don't know how people are getting them. Doesn't make any sense. I want to play me some Demon Souls, bruh.
Things are different in Canada.
Bring it over. Let's hang out, Sam. But
that's an
play the
expensive
Resident
trip.
Evil Village demo. All the way from Canada so I can play Demon Souls. I'm like, oh, could you also buy the game for me, please?
Could you?
Like, I don't want to spend $70. So I was playing the Resident Evil Village demo. I felt a tap on my shoulder, and I was like, what the fuck? I was spooked as fuck. Then 2 minutes later, same thing. Turns out it was my cat. Also, your cat is just tapping you on the fucking shoulder all leisurely, like,
hey, bro.
I mean, your cat's fucking creepy, bro. Jesus.
The cat's like, it's my turn to play.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, the second he dies, it's like, okay, fucking give me the
pass
controller.
the controller.
Like, yeah, when I was a kid playing Grand Theft Auto with my brother and lying to him, saying that I put in the on water cheat and he drives into the ocean, I'm like, dumbass, take the controller. My brother's fucking older than me, by the way. I'm the youngest of the 3 children, and I'm fucking goofing on him. Actually, we did a lot to each other. I hit him in the face with a metal pole once. That's a deal. Yeah.
Man, this is taking quite a turn.
Fun family memories here, given by a sleepy Vaughn. But I don't remember. I don't believe in much, but I love the idea of. I like how you paranormal stuff. The quotes are great. Paranormal stuff.
Whatever that means.
Did you ever experience a spooky moment? If not, what's your stance on the paranormal? So, Josh, have you experienced the paranormal? Has your willy been touched or tickled by a ghosty boy? And like, what's your just, I guess, in general thoughts on it? Like, initially you got the little tickle and you're just like, oh my god, it's a ghost, but it turned out it was also a cat, and you're like, I don't even own a cat.
That would be spooky.
Yeah. What happened?
The spookiest thing I had was I had this. I don't know if you know. There used to be a kids show that was about a dog that would push you to read books, and its name was Wishbone. Don't know if you ever heard about it. Wishbone was great, man. Wishbone was.
I watched Cyber Chase. Thank you very much, and Arthur. So.
Well. Excuse me. Wishbone was great. He would be this dog who would talk about very famous books, and what they would do is they'd basically reenact it, but they would reenact it with the dog playing as the characters. Like the dog would be Robin Hood and would be in the little like costume, and they would have him talk like, you know, like it's inside his head kind of a thing. I really enjoyed it to the point where I had a little stuffed plushie of a little Wishbone dog, and I loved the dog, but it would have it where you would be able to like pinch his tail or like his feet or things, and there would be little buttons in there that would activate him to say something, and it would be like, who wants to play with a cute little dog? God, it's weird how that's like drilled into my fucking brain. Anyway, so that toy, we ripped out the battery one day because it was really annoying and wouldn't stop talking, and it kept doing it. Like, I don't know why. It was for a small amount of time. It's like, you know, when certain creatures, you chop off their head, but they're still moving. Like, it was exactly like that. It was still talking. Oh God, it was so creepy. I do not understand what to this day was causing him to still talk. Eventually it stopped, but that's probably the only thing of like one of those, like, what the fuck is happening right now that's happened to me.
I love that you equate this to the paranormal. You're just like...
Because it's weird talking dogs
spooking me out.
Yeah, dude. Because it was like late at night and it just started talking on its own again. And I was like, what is happening?
I mean, if it stopped and then did it, I would be freaked out. But if it was always just doing it, I wouldn't be that freaked out.
Like it would randomly...
Like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, because you would randomly have it where like it would fall or something and it would just start talking. Like, I don't understand. And so we ripped out the battery pack and then it still would do that shit. And we were like, what is happening? But then it eventually died out. But I don't know. Maybe there was like a backup reserve battery or something. Anyway, stance isn't a thing. I don't believe in paranormal.
You don't think ghosts are a thing?
Nope. Only talking dogs.
Okay. All right. So I don't think I mean, my entire life is a spooky experience. Like, I'm fucking afraid of everything. So like, fuck me. But like, I've never had what I would call any sort of like a paranormal experience. I've never seen an orb, you know what I mean? But my personal stance on it, and I don't necessarily believe in ghosts or any of the paranormal, but I don't think, like, I'm on the fence about it. Like, there's no proof of it, but there's
Like, how do you
like,
know? How do you?
yeah, there's
how can
no
you say one way or the other?
disproving it.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. And I almost think it's kind of like close-minded of people to think that like the soul can't exist and that ghosts can't exist, when it's like we don't even understand the fucking dimension or the reality that we exist in. So it's like, maybe they fucking exist. Maybe ghosts are just someone in a different dimension, like fucking chatting. Like they're in a parallel universe that it turns out you just didn't move into that apartment and somebody kept fucking cockroaches and you heard like scratching all night because it's cockroaches and it's just sound from the fourth dimension. I don't fucking know. Like,
You have such an imagination.
Currently, I am very just agnostic when it comes to the idea of the paranormal, with the exception of ghosts kind of freak me out and I would never want to be haunted, specifically because you can't punch a ghost.
That's true. You can't grab its dick, right?
Yeah, you can't twist its dick off. I'm not even joking. I had this conversation with my wife like 2 weeks ago because she's really into like the Conjuring universe. And I was like, I'm not scared of like the idea of demons, because I feel like demons are annoying enough to the point where you'd be like, bitch, fucking fight me. And they'd be like, you want to go? And then you could brawl. I'm not saying that I'd win, but like I could fight it, versus a ghost. They just fuck with you all the time. Yeah. And I can't
do nothing.
I can't cum punt it. I can't do anything to a ghost. Like I can't do it. I can't twist his dick. Like, what am I supposed to do? Just be like, can you just fucking, like, can you go away? Can you just, like, I'm so sick of you, bro. I'm just trying to sleep, kind of a thing. Like, I don't know. So there's my stance on the paranormal. I'm very agnostic. I think that it's kind of like, I think that it fucking could happen. Like, it could be a million different things. Why can't ghosts exist? Who fucking knows? Like, it'd be really cool if they did. But yeah, I mean, I'm scared of ghosts because I can't punch a ghost. It's easy. There you go, Sam.
All right, then.
Now, Zach writes in and says, Prince or Michael Jackson? Josh, Prince or Michael Jackson? In what scenario? I have literally no idea. I imagine this is just a quick, like, preference question.
Yeah.
Kind of a deal. Like,
I mean, I'm a fan of both. I don't know that I can say, like, because they're kind of, it's like weird to say which one is better. I guess I'll go with Michael Jackson. I don't know. I'm also like, I like them, but I'm also not one person who is like the biggest fan of either of them. I'm pretty neutral. I'm like, good stuff from both of them. Okay. But I guess Michael Jackson, I don't know.
I'm currently like, I do not really like either of their music.
Right,
so then. I don't have a preference toward either. I mean, like, I've watched Surviving Neverland, and that, like, if true, kind of freaks me out to the point where, like, I'm kind of glad I don't like Michael Jackson's music, but, like, I don't know.
Michael Jackson took a weird turn at the end of his life there.
Yeah, I can't say if it happened or not, but I'm not really a fan of the music in general of Michael Jackson. Prince, I mean, I liked that episode of New Girl that he was on. That is my entire, like, I'm not even joking. That's literally base. Like the only thing that I know about Prince. I know that he's a musician. I know he was on an episode of New Girl. Literally never listened to his music. Ever. So, there you go, Zach. Neither. Philip Renshaw, the Wombat Emperor of Australia, writes in and says, when playing 2D platformers with a controller, do you use the analog stick or the D-pad? Analog stick or D-pad?
I will go with depends. So I will normally default to the analog stick just because that's where I'm used to, because I play a lot of games, and so I'm just used to using the stick. But certain games, if they really need it, because it's just very mechanically intensive from most 2D platformers, depending on what they are. Like, a good example is Cyber Shadow, right? I played for the majority of Cyber Shadow with the control stick, the analog stick, until you got to a part where you had to dash, and you have to basically like tap the forward or, you know, left or right quickly. And doing it with an analog stick is just trash. It is so awful, and it just does not work. So I was like, all right, well, we have to change it. And I had to change up and go straight to the D-pad because would not work otherwise. So I had to learn halfway through to control, like, okay, go in here. But like, it doesn't matter. It just depends. Like, I'll default usually to the analog stick, but there's certain games where you can't use it.
Yeah, I with 2D platformers, I often go like my default is actually the analog stick, and I play the majority of the, like, I'll play for a while with it, and then I realize that I'm doing it, and I'm like, I should use the D-pad.
Yeah.
Because I'm just garbage in general, but the D-pad is just so much more precise typically.
Yeah.
That I often like shoot for the D-pad. But it, like you said, it just depends on the game. Like I've played like Chasm. I played through the majority of the game just using the analog stick, but then I got fucking annoyed and had to go with the D-pad because there are certain bosses in that game that are just pissing me off. So it just kind of depends on how, like, I would say grueling the actual thing is. Plus, I mean, my fucking, like, my 360 controller that I use on my PC has a garbage-ass D-pad, but my Xbox One controller continually becomes unhooked for some reason from my PC. So, because I don't have it, like, wireless, I just have a cable plugged into it, so it's got the better D-pad, but it fucking comes unplugged all the time somehow. It's always, like, disconnected. I'm like, how? Where?
The struggle.
It's fucking dumb. Phil also writes in and says, Aaron Ralston, maybe. I don't know. I had to cut off his own arm when it became pinned during a climbing expedition, or he would have died of dehydration. Imagine if your manhood got pinned in a similar accident. Could you cut it off? Could you cut off your willy to save your life? One, that's assuming I'm well endowed enough for this to fucking happen, by the way. Like, good luck with that. But
it's a very small
Josh,
trap.
This is like pinpoint accuracy. Honestly, if nature was accurate enough to hit my penis, yeah. Like,
It's
I mean,
basically like, have you ever seen Saw?
yeah.
It's basically the headgear that they keep putting on people in Saw movies, but it's just on your junk.
Yeah, if it was like, if nature in somehow was so accurate to actually get it, I feel like I need to give him that win, and I gotta do it. But otherwise, I feel like there's little to no reality in which it could actually clamp down on my pee-pee.
On my pee-pee. I'm gonna be honest, I don't know that I could do that. I don't know that I could do it for anything, but also to get rid of my manhood would be pretty tough. I feel like that's one of the very sensitive areas of your body. And I don't think I'd be able to stand it. Like, I just brought up Saw. If I was in that movie, pretty sure I'd die. I don't think I'd be able to shove my hand in a vat of jar and pick out a key and then unlock the lock in time.
Yeah, he's like, sure I fucking put a key behind your eye, bitch, and now you're like, your head's gonna be squished if you don't gouge out your own eye. I'd be like, I mean, is it quick? You can kill me quick? Yeah. And he's just like, I mean, yeah. And I'm like, cool, and just close it on myself.
Yeah, I'd be like, no, let's just fucking get this over with. I'm good.
Yeah, like, just sit down. He's like, wait, what are you doing? We're trying to play a game. And I'm just like, I'm getting fucking comfortable. Shut up.
We're trying to play a game. That's how I feel every time we get on the Cuphead stream.
Yeah. Trying to play a game.
Vaughn, we're trying to play a game.
Like, I'm trying to be fucking comfortable, bitch. So... But would I actually do it? I mean, all jokes aside, probably not. I would just fucking die. Like, I'm not a fan. I'm not a survivor. Like, that guy cut off his own fucking arm. Bro, I've seen 127 hours. That shit was crazy. He did get a robot arm, though, which I think is really cool. Do I get a robot penis in this scenario? Maybe. That'd be cool.
Would they create a robot penis?
I don't know.
I feel like they'd just strap a dildo on your crotch.
Yeah, it's a good point. That's a good point.
It's like, what's the... Yeah. What? I don't know.
I mean, as my father-in-law has told me,
Okay,
the G-spot for a man is in their b-hole. So,
okay,
who even needs manhood?
interesting. I was gonna say this is gonna be a weird thing to transition from, but I was like,
1,000,000%.
I was like, how are you going to relate something your father-in-law said to using a strap-on instead of a robot penis? He did it. He did it, folks.
I do. There are some things that I can transition quite well.
Yeah.
And our last question for today is from Tarsier Studios, and they write in and say, "What is the best Easter egg / pop culture reference you have seen in an indie game?" Big Josh boy, what's the best one you think?
So I don't know about pop culture reference, but I'll go for Easter egg. If it's not the Firewatch thing that we talked about, because
that's a pretty good one.
That's a fucking good one.
That's pretty cool.
I do like the Stanley Parable. If you play it, the Stanley Parable is a great game. First of all, it's very weird. I love the narrative, or the narrator in general, of you just taking actions and him describing what's happening in the game and you picking your own path. There's one where if you I think it's close to the end, where you're going up this elevator, and if you kind of wait in this one section for just long enough, the door where you came from will open back up and you just walk backwards and you click a button and it turns into this ridiculous, oh shit, I just smacked my mic. The whole game is you kind of trying to cheese the game in ways where you do things and get different endings, but this one is so blatant. It's hilarious. You press a button and all of a sudden it's just secrets found, cool textures, blah blah blah, and there's all these lights flashing, and it's basically just this. It's called Disco Party or something. I would look it up. It's ridiculous. It's such a silly one of the little things that you can find in Stanley Parable that goes to such an extreme, but I think it's great.
I mean, it's not necessarily I guess this would be more of a pop culture reference, but just the entire game of Crossing Souls is one gigantic 90s teen movie reference kind of a deal.
Yeah.
They've got Stand By Me in there where you're running across the train tracks and almost get hit by the train. Mm-hmm. It's just that's actually a major part of the narrative, is just relation to that movie. They've come across a dead body and then they have to run from that train. So I would say, I think that Crossing Souls does a really good job with pop culture references within it. They've got fucking Back to the Future references and shit. There's so much in that game, and it's actually built entirely around being a reference to 90s nostalgia. So I appreciate that. I think that's really cool. When it comes to Easter eggs, dude, I have no idea. You think I'm good enough at games to find an Easter egg? No. Not even in easy games. I don't find Easter eggs. So, I mean, not an indie game, but I think the Doom Guy little dolls that you can find, those are pretty cool.
Those are pretty cool.
Those are cool collectibles. But that answers the question. Thank you so much, everyone, for writing in. Once again, I'm going to run through the housekeeping before we end the episode. Please check out the Whoopo developer interview going live one day after for patrons, 2 days before for plebes. Check that out. It is Kunuist and Perzik them on the developer interview for Whoopo. Josh is seemingly quite excited for everybody to listen to it. That goes live Wednesday. Please listen to the developer interviews. They're awesome and he works hard on them. Plus, just in general, I love listening to the devs talking about their lives in general. How exactly they got into game development is really, really cool. Yep. Please check out the IndiePod store over on Teespring for our t-shirts, stickers, and soon to be other stuff when I unfuck up things. Please check out our YouTube channel, just IndiePod right now, possibly something else later, but just IndiePod right now for the video episodes of this and other stuff that we put up there. Please check out, or not check out, this is actually just leaving us reviews on any sort of listening platform that you can do so on, specifically iTunes, because through the grapevine, I've heard from multiple people, including on these podcast episodes, that it helps in some weird way. It's it's magic. It's black magic.
Somebody help us, please. Know. We don't know what we're doing.
Yeah, dude. It's the fucking dark arts up in this bitch. You apparently sacrifice your time to the god that is iTunes, and it rewards us. You don't get anything, but we do. So that's cool. Thanks. And lastly, thank you so much to our patrons. We'll see Mixomatosis, a.k.a. Mix, Zach Durham, Chase Hopkins, Philip Renshaw, the Wombat Emperor of Australia, Chris Penwell. He drinks so much tea. It's kind of like freaky, honestly.
A lot of bathroom trips.
Like, dude. I never see him pee. Like, in all the episodes of Go Beyond, he's never had to take a break.
He's got a piss
and
jar.
He drinks so much tea. So, I don't know what he's doing. Maybe he's got a pee tank. Maybe he's got that pee jar, dude.
Pee jar. That's what he does.
We got Josh Nichols, a.k.a. Active Josh. Thank you so much for that interview, by the way. Go over to Retroware. Check out our interview that we did with Mr. Josh Nichols.
I can't believe we didn't shout that out, by the way. But people should check that out because I thought it was so flippin' cool that we had first off, seeing my face in an actual article online as if like I'm anyone was so bewildering because you're just looking at it, you're like, what am I doing there? But like also we shout out so many cool indie games and so much like I don't know, it was such a good collection of Josh doing a great job of curating all of the links to the games, links to podcast episodes, links to people that we had on as guests and talking about different episodes and things like that. And I was just like, this is such a great curation of like so many cool things in one article.
Yeah. I thought it was a great one too. So please head over to Retroware. Check out the interview that Josh Nichols, Active Josh, did with us. Of course, check out Active Quest because it's absolutely awesome. And lastly, Sam Fillion from Canada. Thank you so much for being patrons. You're all amazing. I'm going to give you them smoochies one day. But before that ever happens, we got to end this episode. So thanks everyone so much for watching my mush mouth talk and Josh's amazing kissable mouth talk for the past 2 hours and 15 minutes. You're all amazing. If you would like to check us out outside of the podcast episodes, you should follow at IndiePod on Twitter, specifically for like indie games news, our thoughts on indie games, new deals and quick steals, so we can't shout out on the episodes specifically because it goes live fucking right after the sale ends or something like that. Just make sure to follow us at IndiePod over on Twitter. You can follow me at Hyde Legion, HYDELEGION, for notifications of my Twitch streams, my dumb ramblings, anything like that. And please check out my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Hyde Legion. Same thing. And of course, check out the big Josh boy. You got at _Jorsh90 on Twitter and _Jorsh or twitch.tv/the_Jorsh for his Twitch channel.
Correct.
That is it for this episode of IndiePod and Indie Games Podcast. Thanks everyone so much for listening, and we will talk to you next week.
Bye, fam.